wait, if the he thinks the mid lane of Mikado not getting crushed. I just got messaged back by Cox late again after draft, and he says, I'm gonna wreck Alphon. Alright, so that is the words of Cox himself.
No gyro
Look,
look at the win probability, John. Look at it. Win probability 53% already. Like, we just got into the game. 53% already for Kukuys, and that's pure. I guarantee it's because they chose AM. I guarantee it.
Yep. Yeah, it's a draft difference. We have
Proud daddy here.
Natsumi's asking, no trash talking, please. And Abat is like, your hero is better than mine. Do not trash talk, please.
Okay.
Kuku's saying, I'm so proud of you, my kids. My children have gone so far.
And Armel killing you today is our goal, Godfather. I gotta say this again. Armel has been trash talking every series, but every single series, he has pulled off the track. He has backed it up.
Oh yeah, you know, Armel saying, Abat saying that Cox is still looking for the coach. I can't believe they even got WS to join and say, let's see who's right. Like, out of all the people, we've never seen WS do that, you know, and he's actually typing out. So everyone's in high spirits. This is a good match.
It's the classic Filipino influence coming in here onto WS. Poor guy. Yeah, you work under Kuku long enough, John. You're gonna get there eventually. There's no two ways about that. Let's see. Game one of a best of 5. You know, this is not going to be as simple as a quick best of 3. Plenty of games. I think most people that are viewing this game right now would look at this and think, Talon, surely. Natsumi, be careful, sir. Well, what's he saying now, John?
Natsumi says, that's so noisy with voice lines. Cox says, it's just for you.
Okay.
And Cox said, it's because you get ticked off.
I've got to say it. Like, I think most people viewing this match would assume that Talon should 3-0 Kukuys, right? Like, can we both agree that if you were a betting man, Jonathan, and you had to choose the scoreline, would you go 3-0?
I would expect a 3-0. Actually, I would maybe say 3-1.
If you had to bet. If you had to bet your life savings right now. You have no choice.
It's so scary. It's so scary. 3-0. If it was Boom, I would say so. And that's not a diss at Boom. It's just a historic trend. I think this one is just too wild. It's just too crazy. It's just too... Talon probably prepped for Boom. You know, chances are they actually did prep for Boom more than they did for Kukuys. So that could be a factor as well. And I think it can be a bit scary. Like, they're trying stuff out like AM. I don't think either way this is going to be 3-0. So, it's hard to say. I would say 3-1. If you were forced by gunpoint to make a bet, 3-1 would probably be maybe a more sane bet. Still, we've got a less sane mid matchup as we were taking a look at the Sniper versus the Kotl lane. And this is pretty fine for Armel. His camp wasn't blocked, so he's going to have access to some good farm down the line. Nothing to really slow that down. Mikado doesn't go for the scatter shot as well. Just stays on the ghillie suit mid. So it's a very bog standard sniper play. He can still zone out and farm up quite fine, keeping his distance. But it's going to be a very slow tempo lane that theoretically should favor Armel just because of the camp access again. So you don't have that edge on Talon blocking off early. We can take a look at the other lanes. Up top, you've got the dreaded anti-mage of Natsumi, along with Kuku and Lich, up against Joel and Cox. And this lane for Cox is going to ramp up by the time he hits level 3. Like, your damage will start to scale up. You are doing pure damage onto the AM, so it's not like Counterspell will do much anyhow to stop this magic, to stop this pure damage from coming in. I'm just wondering what Natsumi will be looking to go for. The last time we saw an AM, I think we saw a 1-3-1 build-up as well, emphasizing Blink rather than, say, Mana Break Harassment. So it ended up just really being a slow farming sort of game with no aggression. I do feel like when you have a Lich on hand with AM, there is some aggressive plays that can come out once levels are in. Same thing can't really be said for Abat. Like, he has a very stable lane lined up for himself here on that Morphling. Right? There's no easy ways to keep Abat pinned down. You have Clockwork and Lich. You don't really have the best ways to stop Abat from just jumping around. I think that's going to be an issue down the line. Even in lane, we've seen WS play the Alpha Wolves before. It is cool, but it's not like you get the benefits of it until you're like level 7, level 8. So in lane, it's pretty bog standard. Your wolves aren't doing anything extra. And theoretically, this is just fine for a bot. Free farm lane for the Morphling. Going to be important to set up. I don't see any way of you slowing down a bot anytime soon as well. Like, even Mikado rotating isn't really a threat. But that is one thing that Talon's draft is susceptible to. Just giving a lot of space out to this Morph. I don't know if you're going to get early enough activity on Natsumi to try to contest that Morph either. Because AM still tends to go Battle Fury. You don't tend to see that experimentation with S and Y or stuff like that.
Top lane, they are trying onto Natsumi. Grasp from Kuku going to make it hard, but Natsumi 5 seconds away from being able to have Blink up, but they can't get the kill. Slows from Kuku with the Frost Blast proving to be enough to allow Natsumi a way out of there. But already the aggression towards the AM coming out from Kukuys. They won't find any first blood yet though, neither side. Of course, mid lane, I just wanted to have a look back here, John. Makoto's having a very good time. 21-11 compared to the 12-0 of Armel's Keeper of the Light. And like last game, the timing for Keeper is extremely important. Like, you need to get a very quick earn. You need to find charges pretty much immediately off the back of that earn. And then you need a fast Spirit Vessel time. And if you can't get those three conditions, your hero just dies.
It does. I'm a little bit surprised Mikado is getting so much out of this lane as well. He does have the one rate band, as they will manage to burst down Bosku at least. Again, the target's on his back, and they rotate Ponyo up to harass out Natsumi. A bit of a rough time top.
He's got Blink, but Jules waiting for him to blink. Look at this. He's waiting. Natsumi, what are you going to do, sir? There's a lot of time being wasted here for this AM. So he's going to blink north. The shards are going to be off the mark, and he does salve up. So he'll be okay. Kuku will be there to protect. But I love the emphasis up at this top lane. Just do not allow Natsumi to have a free time. And of course, take the head straight off Kuku if you can, as they are going to grasp up Cox. But it's a Timbersaw. He doesn't have reactive armor, but once his mana is gone, you don't really have enough damage.
No. You are at least slowing down just a little bit, but it's a rough start for Natsumi. Bottom in terms of CS. And again, for an AM, it's just a slow process back in. I'm still wondering if Natsumi will want Battle Fear or something more active. I think you can look at like WS to actually be your win condition, along with Mikado. So you can afford to actually go for a more skirmishy anti-mage, and he is going for something like the Orb Corrosion right now. So there is some early potential here for the AM just with that, especially once heroes are out of mana. I'm just wondering if it's an all-in move for Natsumi. Still keeping that aggression up top, though.
Kuku again, going to be targeted, is gone. Natsumi trying to at least get Jewel taken out with him, but he's taking a bit of harassment himself. Cox is out of mana, though. A nice snowball is going to buy some time, so back towards Jokam they'll go. But everyone's out of mana. And I don't think Natsumi's going to be feeling too confident to move in right now. At least you do have Makoto. Does make a nice quick rotation on the sniper. And easy assassinate kill onto Jewel. So you do get a bit of a trade-up.
You do. Again, it's a lot of pressure up top, but you're also freeing up space where WS isn't under any kill threat. You know, without a laning partner here for a bot, he is free farming, but you aren't slowing down the Morphling. Again, you've been crushing that mid lane on Mikado. The stacks have been taken by Ramel, but it is warded up now by Mikado as well, so you shouldn't be able to restack and try to catch up and farm. And just a lot of emphasis top. I mean, we heard Armel. They were painting and targeting Kuku's back. They are gunning for Natsuki more, though.
There was some pings towards Makoto, but they don't really have the numbers here to really hope for the kill. You've got earn up though on Armel, and here we go. Like you need to get these charges ASAP. Makoto, probably the wrong target though, in fairness. Like, you don't really have the greatest gap close for the sniper. I'd expect Armel to maybe rotate down bottom and try for WS instead. And he is indeed doing that right now. Pings are coming out towards the Lycan. Jewel's going to be there, but WS, realizing what's happening, does retreat back to the tier 1 tower. And I suppose this is one of the things, like, against Talon, they're going to have the foresight to know exactly how Armel wants to play this. So they are not giving the openings over for him to get those initial earn charges that he really, really, really wants.
Yeah, and again, it's a matter of, are you applying enough pressure? Because WS, he's been free farming for a little bit. He's kind of keeping up in build up. Natsumi, despite the pressure, and he is lagging behind, both these heroes are, but not in a massive way that really offsets this game. And the key thing is that Mikado is just able to ramp up. Double rate band already up, power treads already up. Just needing a little bit more, going for the Maelstrom here for Mikado. So this early sniper tempo is going to come in. And for Talon, their greatest weakness is this point, right? Like from laning phase into maybe 15 to 20 minutes, this lineup is a little bit weaker, quite a very bit weaker. So we'll see if Kukuys can capitalize on that. They will try with a smoke on Armel and Ponyo. Remember, this combination with, say, Solar Bind coming in plus Decrap can lead to some very nasty kills. Have to be a bit cautious on Talon here.
You absolutely do. Here comes Armel. WS pretty out of position right now. Jewel gonna have shards to throw at him, and this should be a definite kill. And there's those earn charges we talked about. Armel's got it. At least WS does manage to buy the Midas, which is the exact same build we saw yesterday from WS. So Midas is up for him before he does go down. But more importantly for Kukuys, they do hit the conditions they're looking for Armel. He just needs to hit the Spirit Vessel timing, but that's a lot simpler than the other two conditions. And with that, already, it seems like they're off to a good start here, this Radiant team.
And they are. Again, outside of mid lane, everything else has gone smoothly for them. They've applied pressure onto the anti-mage. So this ramp up for Natsumi's held back. WS, and it's a slower start when you do go Alpha Wolf. There's really not much to go for until you're like level 7. And they are still keeping that pressure. Like, they're getting the free shove in. They're cutting off WS every single time. Maybe a little bit deep now.
Very, very deep, but the TP rotation is not going to really amount to anything. But able to walk out. And these TPs just kind of feel almost wasted here as, again, they're unable to really punish for the tower abuse that Kukuys were providing. Kind of thing with the draft as well of Talon, like, the one man that's had a really good time is Makoto, but everyone else is a little bit on the slower side when it comes to the net worth department. And it does come back to the fact that you have an AM Lycan that are going to take a little bit more time to be online, as we do see Kuku going down once again top lane. And now, of course, Kukuys, they just want to take the T1 top tower because they can.
You've got that free push with Ponyo on hand. With the Nether Blast, he doesn't quite have the mana, but got enough to just poke and prod. There is room for WS to get the same thing done down bot. But again, a bot is there to still hold his ground. Does opt for the Dragonlance buildup instead of something like the Vlad's here. A rather interesting diversion as well, even over like the Yasha Manta Rush. They'll want to have a little bit more stats, have a little bit more reach on the Morph, which is fair enough when you're up against something like the Sniper. 4-1 start, all the activity in the world coming out here for the Kukuys, as they are kind of setting that tempo up. Now it's just a matter of keeping that pressure, because there is still a lot of jungle space for the side of Talon to sit back in. Right, there's still room for WS to play in the jungle. The triangle is still fairly secure. They have one sneaky ward behind the tier 1, which is nice on Kukuys' end, but nothing to spot the triangle itself, nothing to spot up top. And that is room that Talon will just take quite happily. The side of the Kukuys, of course, again, you're not going to be too disappointed in the slow game. You might miss some of that early strong tempo that Armel has with a full Spirit Vessel up, which is probably the one thing they'd want to play off of. They are still keeping gears locked in for that bot tier 1. Maybe that could lead into more aggressive wards into that triangle. Still not finding kill opportunities yet. Even the shard's not quite connecting onto WS for an opportunity. I mean, again, this is good movement out from Kukuys, but considering that the network lead isn't really growing, Talon is somehow keeping pace with farm. Like, they are still rather efficient through the camps. They still have triangle, as we've been saying. And Mikado is still given free reign. So, there are still some shining points here, despite being a slower
Nice
game.
cogs from Jokam. Very nice cogs from Jokam. Jewel just has no way out of this one. Insanity, though. A Bart going to jump in, but a nice hook shot away from Jokam as well. Hitting that level 6 mark, immediately getting the escape. A Bart still trying here, as he does have Armel with the Spirit Vessel up, but WS gets the Wolf Form off in time. Still the run away, but the Waveform not actually going to connect with WS.
Ooh.
He's still going to die, but it's at the cost of a Bart. Oh, very deep dive in from a Bart. That's a big kill to give back the way of Talon. Now, I think WS, he's okay with that. He doesn't mind dying if it means you find the Morphling.
Yeah, you get some much-needed activity, much-needed punishment out from Talon's end. And the deep dives from the side of Kukuys doesn't amount to much. In fact, might be a little bit more. Don't really have the full complement of damage without mana on Mikado, though, so it's a little bit harder to find this follow-up. But again, you keep things even. It is slowly pulling ahead for the Kukuys just off of this added map control they have. I would say one interesting aspect that we haven't really talked about here, Mikey. If a bot turns into WS, he does get the facet, right? So surely he gets his own Alpha Wolves. Would be interesting. Not the most meaningful thing in the world, but is something that could happen down the line. Let's see.
I guess so. They have found Cox here. Makoto doing a lot of damage, does take him out, but can Makoto get away? Shard's gonna lock him in. Jewel just keeping up the Makoto now with the double kill, still just man fight against the side of Kukuys, but he will die to Armel. Still the chase is on now for the Keeper of the Light as Armel needs a way out of this. He'll run directly south, but it's not gonna matter by the looks of it because Natsumi will have enough damage and control. They'll even move on to Jewel now. Jewel will be okay, but pretty big losses now for Kukuys. As Talon able to find a 3-for-1 trade off the back of that death of Makoto. Hell, Jewel, I mean, he's still around, but it won't matter. It seems like Talon just want to retreat now, knowing that the heroes are respawning. Man, Makoto sniper, it's such an issue when this man plays this hero. He's just farmed too quick. He dominated the lane, and now with the Maelstrom up, he's just hitting too hard.
And he is. Double Wraith Bands plus Maelstrom up is just so high in terms of that early output for the sniper. And all of this movement is just so beneficial to Talon. The fact that Natsumi's able to actually join in these fights is such a big deal as they get another hook shot off.
They do. Joe Cam gonna find Ponyo. Ponyo will go down very quickly. Things are starting to get a little bit scary because now you've got the level 5 wolves. We get the level 6 wolves rather soon, and the stupidity starts very soon from WS. Just one more level.
Yeah. You gotta love that hightail. You gotta love that hamstring as well. Fun stuff. And again, the key thing that I think is just enabling this from Talon is how willing Natsumi is actually to join in these fights. He knows there's a lot of value with Mana Void. When you're up against a Morphling, there's a lot of value in the Mana Drain, and there's a good target to blow, a good target to blow up in the Keeper of the Light as well. And with the AM joining in, it just allows WS to keep playing passive. Sit back, farm with the Midas, build into that point where you start to hit like a truck, you're really scaling up, and you're still getting that progression on Natsumi for the Battlefield, which, to be fair, isn't fast. You know, there's still bottom network cores here on Natsumi and WS, but they are playing around in this slower point in the game for themselves quite fine. And building their foundation off of Mikado, who does have that full Mjolnir at 15 minutes in. Double Wraith Band Mjolnir, power treads up on a sniper. That is ridiculous.
That's huge, man. It's too much. Natsumi with the blink away. Still in trouble, though. Hookshot and Chain Frost is going to be committed. Natsumi now having the space to escape here as the Chain Frost is creating all kinds of havoc. Cox, he's going to go down to Makoto. They'll lose Jewel to boot. Makoto showing up to save the day here for Talon as Ponyo almost dies to an assassinate. He'll be alright. Remember that time Makoto was a free agent and nobody was picking him up? And we were just like sitting there like, how is Makoto a free agent? Like, of all people, how is he free?
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me of, remember that moment when the Savage stack split off from Talon and Mikado ended up on Bleed, and it's like, how is Bleed losing with this guy? I just didn't understand that. You know, Mikado's been consistent in all that time.
Might have been you know, maybe some of the players were a little bit upset with not getting paid, John. That might have had something to do with it.
Well, I mean, you know, everyone's kind of upset not paid about certain things, Michael Phoenix. You know, Southeast Asia is not a happy place.
Shout out to E-Pulse. Good to see those guys leaving. Ponyo.
I love Sniper.
Yeah. That's another combo we didn't talk about, right? The Wolves giving vision for Makoto to just kill you from a mile away. That's something we haven't talked about yet, but that's also huge.
It's such a rare synergy, but it is such a good one as well. And, you know, these wolves do damage. Like, the max level wolves of WS will actually drop these supports low enough for the Assassinate to clean up. So you have to be very cautious on the side of Kukuys. Smoke out from Talon. Of course, Mikado is looking to line up a shot again.
Yeah, Ponyo, it's so hard for this Bugner because he just gets assassinated from a mile away, loses over half his HP, and then they just walk in and clean up. It's not a great sign so far for Kukuys. Like, you do have a Bart with a full butterfly up now, the Morphling is still having a very good time, right? But it's I don't know if it's good enough, is my thing. Like, I think Makoto's just gotten so much out of this game already. And you don't exactly have the greatest jump for Makoto either. Like, you've got Cox in the Timber, you've got a Tusk. That's pretty much all you've got to try and close the gap. And right now, neither of those heroes are able to survive if Makoto just turns around and just hits them.
Yeah, not quite. They're... they have to drop wards for this.
It's lovely. These wolves are so stupid. This right-click build from WS, it's got to be the new best thing that we're going to see. Because the farm rate, when you rush Midas and you just jungle with these wolves, like the farm rate is so ridiculous. This top lane, haven't lost anyone yet. There goes Jokan. Wolves are incoming though. Ponyo, you've got to run. He's alright.
I mean, they have the magical clear for it. They've got the clear for the wolves. You know, they've got AoE magical damage, so it isn't as troublesome as we saw yesterday for Boom Esports at the very least. And they've got a little bit of an opening here on the side of Kukuys. Into the Roche they go. Have some decent damage coming in. Again, if with a bot and the butterfly, this is not going to take too long whatsoever. Some key timings for Talon lining up, though. Kuku already has his blink. Not too far away from the shard. And again, I prefer this Frostbound coming out on him for the Chain Frost. It's been a lot more effective. There's been some rebounces coming in that just make it so awkward for Kukuys to engage. This Aegis is an opportunity for the side of Kukuys, though, to try to apply that pressure. Talon isn't fully ready yet. Yes, you've got the Battle Fury up on Natsumi, but he needs a Manta, he needs the Ags. And then he's going to need an MKB if he really wants to be a nuisance to a bot. So a lot more farm needs to come in. Heck, even WS as well. Echo Saber's up. It's a start. It's not fully set. And this is when Kukuys should be looking to kind of utilize his early tempo advantage, right? Because, again, you don't have a network advantage, sure, but you've locked in at least the progression of two of the cores on Talon that there should be some confidence here. They'll smoke and try to sneak around. But it's on the side of the map that Talon is not even bothering in anyhow, as there's a random tip for Natsumi, as he's just sitting back in farm, maybe calling that move out. And the side of Kukuys, there is pressure here. Because if this game just keeps stalling, again, at some point, Kotl's damage starts to fade away a little bit. The Pugna starts to become a non-issue outside of the healing factor that it does provide. You haven't really cleared a mid-tier 1, which is another hurting point here for Kukuys. So the triangle's been under Talon's control for a little bit too long. They'll just get to work onto the tier 2 bot, but there is some time for Talon to try to respond if they so wish, and some of those TPs will come in. Mind you, again, Kuku does have that blink. Doesn't quite have the shard. Doesn't have that free time to just toss Chain Frost out. I'll be happy enough to give away the tier 2. You are getting some objective advantage, including the Tormentor as well. But Talon aren't giving them kickoff opportunities, which is really how that snowball is set to kick off. And again, they're doing a fine job of just getting what they can. Split push begins from Natsumi. The room out for WS to get into the next item. I'm wondering if he's going to go for the Harpoon or something like the AC first in this case. There's also a very good opportunity to go for the Ags in this kind of game. Biting Natsumi once he's got a few items up can be devastating as well. We talked about that potential in yesterday's series from Talon. Didn't even last long enough to hit that point. It's always a possibility when you have an AM on hand here.
Crazy, crazy times. Slight net worth lead for Talon. Dota Plus actually at a 50-50 right now, John. That's a very even game here between these two sides. You love to see it as Ponyo runs, sir. Oh, Ponyo, not like this. He's gonna have life train them. He's alright. Tips out to WS. Oh, this is what this stupid facet does. It just... Oh, I can't wait to queue a pub, John. After this grand final, I'm queuing like an offlane. I'm doing this to people.
It just looks so ridiculous. It is very fun. And it's kind of shocking that... Oh, yeah. Let's keep fighting him.
I could cast this all day, John.
Oh my god!
Oh, ladies Ladies and gentlemen, if you want some free MMR, log on to Dota2 right now. Pick like an offlane and take the R4 facet. You're welcome.
Who needs a nullifier? You just need to keep going. Oh, Cox?
Oh, Cox. He's okay. Makoto's still going at it, but this time with level 3 reactive armor, it's not going to be that easy, especially with the Aghanim Scepter up, as now Makoto has been snowballed by Jewel. They're going to move in, but can they burst him down? Armel's trying to move in, but there's not too much damage going on to Makoto still. They do almost get there, and they've got him. They have got him, but they've lost Cox. They've lost the Aegis as well on this Morphling. Natsumi going to try again for a Bart. A Bart, though, just going to morph and blink away with the AM form, as they might look to just move back in onto WS, who is slowly running out of wolf form, but he has just enough time to run back towards the base, so instead they'll try for Joe Cam. And Joe Cam they should have. He's got no way out of this one. So 3 for 1. The whole key to this is, if you kill Makoto, the fight's basically guaranteed to be a win for Kukuys.
Yeah, we're not in a position where the damage output on Natsumi or WS can compensate for that loss in the sniper, and Mikado is playing highly aggressive, not able to get himself out of dodge in nick of time, and some good punishment this time coming out from Kukuys. That set to become even easier to find with a blink fully done on Joel now as well. So gonna be easier to find these angles into that backline. They reel back the lead their way very slightly, and the lead hasn't really swung either direction too hard. The side of Talon will need and to just recuperate. At the least, they take care of that Aegis spike from a bot, but they need to kind of find their own solutions to that evasion. They're not able to really leverage damage onto him in that secondary life. The misses are just causing a few issues here for Natsumi. His Ags still about 2 parts away, so still a ways to go in terms of the gold build-up, about 1.3k gold, I think, in farm. And at the least, once that's up, he can be a nuisance, but you still have to deal with that EHP.
Oh boy, that's a big one. Armel getting caught out now down to the bottom lane. Natsumi making quick work of him. Meanwhile, top lane, another fight to break out. They've got a Bard. Hook shot was in. They'll root him up as well. A Bard, does he have a way out? He doesn't seem to. He had waveform on cooldown at the time, so he had no escape. And once the mana is gone, the mana is gone. There's no more play for the Morphling. It's 3 down, price of nothing here for Talon. And Kukuy is maybe getting just a little bit excited.
They are. Just overextending a tad bit. Even managed to snipe a nice courier here from Jokam. And the Ags of Natsumi is pretty much finished up, I do believe, at this point. Yeah, it is. He's got the 3 parts coming out. So the blink fragments are there. The nuisance from the anti-mage starts to kick in. Again, your hard carry in WS is already online on top of all of that. Free shard out for WS as well. I'm really curious about those summoned wolves on the creep wave. I don't know if they get the bonuses. That's going to be the interesting part to see, just because we rarely see this. Not like you control them anyhow, but it would be hilarious if they did. Again, the blink fragments are up, so slowly but surely the tools are coming together. Skadi next for Natsumi. And then maybe just, again, evasion pierce necessary. Mikado is going for that MKB on his end. Try to deal with that. WS into his own BKB. And a 6k lead for Talon. This is not good news for the side of the Kukuys. Mind you, again, they have this great scaling set on Abat. He has the Daedalus set to go once he gets enough gold. Not too far off from that Demon Edge into a BKB. You are going back for the E-Blade on Armel. So some saving options from all of this physical output that Talon is looking to pump out. Is going to get some work done. I think the big game changer here for the side of Kukuys is actually something like Joel's Ags. Like, if you can get that Ags, you can get the kickback on Mikoto. The game does simplify a fair bit. It's like you said, this sniper is still a significant amount of your DPS right now on Talon's end. All you need is just a smooth way to jump into the backline and reposition him. And Joel will eventually have that, but it is a long journey into that Ags still at this moment.
They're gonna go up top again here, Kukuys. Natsumi's around the corner. They will retreat. Instead, now Talon pushing down the bottom tier 2 tower. Natsumi officially top of the net worth board, looking very, very intimidating at the moment on this AM. Talon smoked up. As 3, looking to go through the twin gates. Kukuys are all there, and they've got vision on the high ground of the twin gates, so they're going to see if it's being used. Counter smoke now from Kukuys.
Radiant's bottom tower.
They do also have the Ethereal Blade now built up on Armel, so plenty more damage from this Keeper of the Light. Nice way to control this WS Lycan and the AM as well if you do manage to get him before the counterspell kicks in. But the smoke, it's not really amounting to too much. They're just going to keep forcing in that top tier 2 tower. Hope that Talon come to them instead. And of course, the bot, in the meantime, he'll just casually take the tier 2. I mean, he's hitting like an absolute truck at the moment.
Top tower has fallen.
You at least clear that tower out, and they can start to set up for that next Roche, but Talon are still in position with their own smoke. Oh.
Jump in, hookshot is there. They at least caught Ponyo. Ponyo is down. A nice start to this fight for Talon. Natsumi's coming through the twin gates. They'll see the AM soon. Oh no, they found a bot. They found a bot. Kuku doing it himself. A bot trying to TP cannot do it.
God.
Oh, it's a big deal. Losing the Morphling once again. And, well, there couldn't be a worse time, John. Roshan is available and Talon, they are right by the pit.
It's not going to take too long for them to melt this one out. They've got the damage with all of their cores on hand. The side of Kukuys can't really hope to try to contest without the Morphling. They're just going to have to try to give that one away. Secondary life coming out for Mikado would be big. Even for Natsumi's not too bad. And you are going to have some issues here on the side of the Kukuys. This Ag's upgraded Blink from Natsumi is actually super devastating for a bot. It's actually a really good counter for the Morph. He'll never get mana back. There's just no way he's going to regen. They do blow up Jokam in exchange for the Aegis. That's one tiny win coming out here for the side of Kukuys. But again, the secondary life on the Sniper just complicates this game. The biggest success for Kukuys is if they can isolate that backline.
They're going to find Kuku at least. Not really a great trade considering you did lose just the Aegis to Talon, but they'll take something. So at this point, it's looking very hard to shut Talon down. All 3 cores at the top of the net worth board. Obviously, Talon had a bit of a rougher start to this game, but that was to be expected with their draft. Now that all their 3 cores are at the top of the net worth, it is looking very hard for Kukuys to make a real big 5v5 go their way. They'll have to try and rely on pickoffs, I think, to make this game kind of swing back in their favor.
Ponyo.
And you look at... What's that, John?
No, he was draining away. At least he has the Force Staff out. Oh.
Oh,
okay.
Ponyo.
He's sick. Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking around like, who's getting eaten by wolves right now?
Yeah, it was a bit dicey. He was trying to top up good old Cox, but if he wasn't careful, the wolves would have just had him. Always got to be on your toes. I mean, look at the sentries around here from the side of Kukuys. Watching that top jungle. They have some defensive sentries down bot as well, just to make sure they're not being tracked. Talon off with another smoke. Another attempt out. They have that full Spirit Vessel on Jokam to help mitigate some of that regen and sustainability, of course, coming out from Kukuys. The scan does spot them out. So the Kukuys, again, getting some good reads, should be able to back off away from danger. And the Talon still have a lot of time on this Aegis to get things done. They just need to kind of stabilize these lanes. And for the Kukuys, all they need to do is try to keep stalling out. Because eventually you'll hit Ag's timing on Joel. Eventually you'll become this massive, massive hero in a bot. Once he has the Satanic, he can just sustain through. Mind you, you do already have that full Scotty up on Natsumi. How effective a Satanic would be, probably not as much as you'd want it to be. Kukuys now with her own smoke. See if they can find an angle. The Wolves are starting to scout forward, not really finding anything, but does at least spot Armel. That should reveal enough about where they're playing, along with all of the spell use out from Cock. So the smoke is very telegraphed now on the side of Kukuys, and also it doesn't amount to much, but Talon have an opportunity to push top. Again, that creep wave is just shoved in, and they can just slowly poke with Mikado. Really nothing much to stop it unless the side of Kukuys decide to mass TT, but they'll just let that outer tower control go away. Again, they've done a great job of getting outer towers anyhow. Like, no outer towers left for Talon. One outer tower left for the side of Kukuys after the fact. And it's not likely you'll force high ground this quick anyhow. So just get what you can here on Kukuys. I am a little bit concerned about what you expect out from Armel at this point. Yes, he has that E-Blade, like you were saying. Disarming out the Lycan or the AM can be nice. But it does feel like your output starts to disappear, and it's more about control. Armel's going to try to go into the Lincolns, into that site of Vice. At that point, you do have some nice, easy ways of pinning down the AM or even isolating away WS, or heck, even following through if you do catch Mikoto. And that utility starts to come in. But again, all your damage is starting to get pumped into a bot, and to an extent Cox as well. We'll have to see if that tempo can still be matched, considering how much Talon is also getting out as this game scales on.
Radiant's middle tower is under
On
attack.
Mikoto, he'll just focus on the tier 2 mid tower on his own now. His team will be nearby. Harpoon fully completed now in WS to boot, so even more control and damage here from the Lycan. Very, very tough game here for Kukuys to try and turn around, that's for sure. Like, they are still split pushing the bottom lane, but it's not going to mean too much.
Radiant's middle tower
Top
has
lane.
fallen.
Looks like Joe Cam's on the hunt to see if he can find Ponyo, and he does catch him. Very nice hook. Because the Wolves are just constantly scouting the map, trying to get vision of any easy pickoffs, and well, that's exactly what we're seeing here from Talon. Just finding another easy one for themselves.
Did you know
Yeah.
the Lycan Shard Wolf? It has hamstring. Lycan
Oh, of
Shard.
course it does.
You can't control them, sure, but a random hamstring while you're clearing out the wave, and then suddenly the real wolves come out, could lead to some funny circumstances.
Could be.
Why did he have? At least they don't have Hightail.
I mean, you can't control them, so I suppose there's no point for the hightail. But yeah, it's definitely funny. We'll see how for now. I don't think Talon need any more bonuses. Let's be frank, John. They're 9k ahead right now. Complete control of this game. A Bart is still third in net worth. Like, this Morphling is still somewhat scary, but they've had his number for quite a while now. They've been able to control him quite easily. It's not really too concerning here at all for Talon, this Morphling farm. And well, Talon, naturally, as they always do, they'll take their sweet time. They're not in any kind of rush. They'll wait out probably the next Roshan before they get going. Plenty more farm to be had anyway on their 3-core lineup.
This is giving time for Kukuys to farm on exorbitant amount of control. Side of Vice already up on Cox. Again, we're looking at the E-Blade plus the side of Vice being finished up on Armel. He has his Lincolns coming in. He's very safe from that Man of Void coming out on Natsumi. Let's see if Talon can line something up with the smoke. Same smoke comes out from Kukuys though. So some smoke on smoke action. No forward wards to watch either smoke. No scans left either. So chances are someone will have to die here. Issue is, if you find a bigger one on Kukuys or on Talon. Sumi's presenting himself as a target up front, but he's a hard target to pin down. Not the easiest thing in the
now
world.
he's got a full butterfly up on Natsumi as well, so even more challenging to try and kill off. As a Bart's going to waveform forward. Natsumi, he's going to make the jump in on Jewel. They'll try for the Tusk first, and Jewel, he does have a Ghost Scepter, so he's going to survive for now as they continue for more with a nice hook shot. They'll catch Cox in the cogs. Jewel will finally go down. Meanwhile, a Bart, he does catch off Kuku, but they'll lose Ponyo in the meantime. Buyback is out from Jewel. But they buy back, and the rest of Kukuys, they just immediately retreat. They just don't want this fight any longer. So the buyback kind of just wasted here for Jewel. And in fact, this could be even more to come, because Bart was showing in the mid lane. Talon are unable to catch him this time. But Talon, they're definitely out for blood right now. They know that they can't really be contested in these fights. Looking for even more. They'll head through the Radiant jungle down towards the bottom lane. If Joe Cam can just catch someone with a hook shot, it should be a guaranteed kill, because he has Natsumi right behind him. Will they fight in this area? I mean, there is some nice vision on the high ground here for the side of Kukuys, and well, the Wolves will scout out that they are around. But Talon, they seem like they're... Oh, in fact, I say they're going to retreat. Natsumi's cutting them off from the back. From the southern side now. They're kind of surrounded here, Kukuys. Cuckoo's coming in from the top. He's going to show himself to Cox. They'll move in. Hex is out into the Lich. The Glimmer Cape was committed at the very least, so Cuckoo is actually not dead yet. Now the cavalry is incoming. They're getting cut from every single side here. Kukuys really need to get the hell out. They're on to Cox now. Natsumi trying to deal with the Timbersaw, but Cox, he does get the reactive armor off in time. But he's going to jump in. Cuckoo is down. Meanwhile, Jewel will die back immediately on the Tusk as Cuckoo. He's going to buy back on that Lich, and now Natsumi, he's onto a Bart. He wants the Morphling. Natsumi cancelling off the TP of Cox. Well, in fact, not cancelling the TP, but just doing a lot of damage with the Mana Void. Will take him out as they found 3 for nothing. Well, I suppose they can say 3 for 1 because they did get Kuku, but that's really all they got.
Not enough to really compensate for that from the side of Kukuys. And it all boils down to just that beautiful envelopment out from Talon. They don't pierce into that area of vision. They knew something was up with a rocket player vision. That they were just camping around a cliff. And they find a longer flank. Anyway, rather interesting that the side of Kukuys still forced that movement together. Because they also saw on the edge. They saw Jokam starting to back off. They knew the ward was there. They knew there was a chance to regroup. And they just kind of took the wrong bet here on the side of Kukuys. 13k lead coming out for Talon. That's the side of Kukuys.
Nah, he's alright. There's no Basher. No Mana Void, no Basher on Natsumi. Oh, a Bart?
He queues it up right after.
Scouted. The Wolves are onto him. Jokam's waiting. But nobody nearby to help Jokam. And immediately, Natsumi just buys out a Basher. So he was not happy with not being able to get Armel. Just immediately buys out a Basher afterwards. And now things become infinitely more challenging if you are Kukuys.
Yeah, it's already a very difficult game. This game kind of hinges on you getting really good control off. Like the side of Vice has to connect. You want that secondary side of Vice as well on Armel. You need to get this control in. It's going to be key to look for that burst window. Joel's been stuck in progression for his Ags as well for a long time. Still 2 parts away. And still a ways off from getting gold for any of that. So the kickback potential isn't really there. Whereas for Talon, I mean, you are kind of getting to the point where you're fully slotted up, right? Mikado has that 1 slot left from the Wraith Band. He will go into the Lincoln, so he's not going to be a viable side of Vice target any longer. You've got WS who could still toss out the Boots or the Midas. So maybe the Assault Curious could start to come in for him as well. Maybe even the Ags. Again, he could kind of double down and just bite Natsumi. That could be and that would be a nightmare to deal with on the side of the Kukuys if you're not too careful. Roshan is back up. Talon have control of the pit. No forward vision here from Kukuys, but they should know something's up. They do have a scan ready to go to scout that area if they wanted to contest. Talon not completely going all in though. They know that this is going to be the big fight, and the Wolves are giving some good vision here.
Here we go. Big fight. If Kukuys can win this one out, they turn the game back on its head. Not very easy to get it done though as Cox immediately jumped. Just destroyed here by Natsumi. Onto more. Armel also getting bashed up. Needs the 4-staff away, trying for the TP out, but he's not going to make it. They've just got so much damage. I think it's about time to call it maybe, to be honest with you, John. So you just can't see it anymore.
No. You really can't. The fact that Talon rode through the laning phase as well as they did, considering they drafted the AM, the top lane was just not under any pressure. I think that's your biggest issue in this game, along with WS just having a free ride to farm down bot. And the fact that Natsumi was finding some openings to just TP in and make some plays certainly led to that prolonged spike from Kukuys where they couldn't really capitalize on Armel getting that quick Spirit Vessel. High ground begins. They don't even need a Roshan. It doesn't last too long here to clear out these objectives either. And a bot against the world just isn't enough. They need Armel. They need Cox. You saw how fast Cox just melted. Like he feels like a very soft target right now. It's a bot.
God. A bot. He just died to 2 supports, John. Kuku will get the tips. Chain Frost bouncing everywhere. GG is called.
Jeez.
My goodness. I mean, they said they want the head of Kuku here today, John, but Kuku had a different idea. Just showing that even your carry's not good enough to go up against me.
That he is.
Well.
I mean, we heard, we saw the chat and just tried to tie in with, say, the bristleback of Cox. Like, just slow the game or kind of speed the game up for the side of Kukuys and punish Talon for, again, going where they love to go into a little bit more of a mid-game, late-game tempo, mid to late-game kind of tempo, not really so much on the early game. I do like the lanes you have lined up here on the side of Kukuys. The Terrorblade just doesn't feel like it's going to be threatened. You have all of this illusion spam to play with on your side on top of things. And again, you have some great save potential with Joel on that Shadow Demon. We have seen this hero just ruin a lot of team fight engagements. It even just, again, stalling out Doom feels awful for the Doom when you're trying to pin down someone big. So I like what I'm seeing coming out here from the side of Kukuys. I think there's a lot of space for them to actually play the game this time around in comparison to game 1.
Certainly feels that way. Well, what's the chat, Jonathan? What are they saying this time?
Fox is just saying, don't tip me, Kuya Dags. And Natsumi's obviously just saying, yeah, Jing is the problem. Poor Jing, he's not even in this Kukui stack, and he still gets thrown under the bus.
He's the problem, John. Yeah, that's why he's not part of the stack. He was the problem. Shout out to Jing. Natsumi narrowly avoiding the gank attempt that was incoming here from Kukuys. Vision down. They might see Natsumi if he keeps running to the west. Oh, and they do. Oh. He breaks the smoke, but he doesn't see him. He doesn't know. Oh, what a shame. He could have just hung by the tier 1 tower, but he decided to head to the west, and he was caught underneath the vision that was just placed. So first blood secured already for Kukuys.
Yeah, nice little start there for the Dire side. Talon should still be getting away with some extra runes, but that's a big trade-off just for the extra rune to give that first blood up. At the very least, it's on to Ponyo, but they are still in position to try to look for more here.
Oh, nice body blocks from Ponyo. It's a lot of damage here on Makoto, and it's going to be another kill. This time, Jewel will be the one to take it on the Shadow Demon. But already 2-0 here for Kukuys. They've started this game on fire.
And that's what we want to see. I want to see that momentum coming up from Kukuys. Play the lanes hard and aggressive, hit this early timing, and punish Talon, because we saw Talon in the last game. They were a little bit slower. They weren't willing to go for all of these openings themselves. They were just waiting for the Kukuys to maybe get a little bit sloppy. And I feel like if Kukuys just clean up their initiation a little bit more, they've got a lot of openings for themselves. So a nice start already to kick off 0-2. We're taking a gander up top, of course. We do have Jokam and WS trying to play poke onto Ponyo and Abat. And this is a decent enough lane for WS. Mind you, once Metamorphosis is up, this can get a little bit dicey. Especially, again, tying in with, say, Natural Order when that is up. There is a lot of output that you can play with here on the side of Kukuys. But for WS, this should just be a farming lane anyhow. Unless you manage to get the dead shot all the way back. It is a little bit harder for you to see that space onto a bot to just melt him. As you have a tick body in that Elder Titan to just throw forward and kind of dissuade him here on the side of Talon. So we'll see if just how much farm WS gets. If he does decide to go for Devour a little bit earlier as well. Though, there's that dead shot combination.
A lot of damage. That's a lot of damage on a bot top lane. He'll be okay to survive through it, but gotta be very cautious about that dead shot dragging you back. Again, I just appreciate the aggression here from Talon at this top side, just making sure Bart can't have a good game, because it is a good TB game. If you can get off to a good start, if you can buy some space here for a Bart, this should be a very good game for him, just based off the hero matchups he has on the side of Talon.
Yeah. Kind of works out. It kind of makes it hard for WS to play the game because he has to think about dooming a Bristle or dooming the Terrorblade. We'll see how that choice pans out later on. Of course, the other side lanes down bot, you do have Cox on that Bristle with Joel around. In this lane for the Bristle, early levels aren't the best. There's some good ranged poke here from Kuku and Natsumi. And Natsumi is fairly durable as well on the DK, of course. A little bit of extra armor that the early Quilt Sprays aren't really a threat. They have some good amount of slows and poke. And Cox doesn't have the healthiest amount of mana, although he does have a massive amount of wand charges at the least. It's surprising Natsumi forced this one pretty hard here.
Cox is okay, Natsumi not so much. They're still chasing, they've got him. Another great pickup here for Kuku is Kuku can only do so much to keep his DK alive that time around. Once again, is the aggression so far paying off for this Dire side of things?
I'm just surprised Natsumi's looking to play so hard and fast in that lane. I get the pressure of wanting to play into the Bristleback while it's a little bit softer, but he did have that massive amount of wand charges on hand. Like, you were not going to be able to burst that down no matter what. And it just makes it a little bit tougher. You hit level 3, level 2 quilts are up, more damage. That can be a threat now onto Natsumi. And Joel Also has 18 charges on the 1, so has enough to keep spamming out these Shadow Poison stacks. That magic damage can pierce through quite well. And so far, all the lanes going cleanly here for Kukuys, but again, not really being threatened. Maybe the one lane that's going a little bit towards Talon is this mid-tiny lane, but it's not like you're pulling massively ahead over Armel. He is keeping pace. Mikado suffering from that earlier. Not going to be feeling too good about just having slight disparities here and there, although he has managed to get the edge in EXP just a tad bit off of some harder CS secure. I'm wondering if there's going to be play into the 6-minute rune. You've got a lot of action that can come out for both of these heroes with one good rune, so you'd expect that rotation to come in. And it does feel pretty impactful for both side supports if they can get the space to just fight over mid, as we've seen throughout the day. There's been a lot more emphasis on the power and even sometimes the secondary water runes. So that is something to consider there as well. But I think for Talon, it gets worrying coming out of the laning. Right? Because, again, you've got the Doom who's just going to be sitting back and farming. You can try to make a play every single time Doom is up, but for the most part, you're just camping that lane in WS and farming up. Same thing goes for Natsumi. And Natsumi has been off to a little bit more of a wonky start on bot, although he is still keeping up in terms of net worth overall. Like, despite all this aggression from Cox, he isn't that high in the net worth charts right now. So, you are still managing this lane as well as you could possibly hope for on Talon, despite kind of finding those shortcomings earlier on there.
Absolutely. Bottom lane, more aggression incoming. Natsumi not looking too safe, so they're going to rotate some heroes down to try and help out. The fight will begin. Ponyo actually dropping extremely low now on the Elder Titan. Does go down. And with the help here from Jokam, they might have enough to deal with Cox. But Cox wants to dive the tier 1 tower. Kuku will drop. Jokam dropping low himself as the goo does connect to slow him down. Natsumi at least has survived as Jokam's still running. Looks like he'll probably be okay. So 1-for-1 trade. More importantly, though, they keep Natsumi alive, which is what they really wanted.
Radiant are scaring.
Yeah. And they get some punishment, right? Like, that's a big commitment out as well from the side of the Kukuys. Instead of trying to show up in mid, they do have the room to fight over these runes now. And you do get a nice spawn up top for Armel on the regen. So no top-ups for Mikado. Does at least get the TP top-up to consider, but Kukuy's still not out of dodge here.
He certainly has not. Let's go down. Armel able to pick him off. Already again, Kukuy is... The way this game's gone for them to start things off has been very, very strong. You really enjoy seeing this if you are a Kukuys fan. And Talon, I mean, we kind of saw this in Game 1 anyway. Like, they do have a bit of a slower start. They're just more interested in securing farm for their cause. And so far, that they are doing so. Once again as well, Makoto finding himself top of the CS board, having a great old time.
Yeah, and all the other cores on Talon are still getting that build-up. WS, still number 2 in network, relatively early for that chart, but you know, he's still keeping up. And again, it's kind of Cox suffering. It's a special back that's maybe not getting off to the start that you'd want it to, despite that early laning pressure. Natsumi's still able to farm up, keeping some pace in comparison to a bot. Was certainly a little bit easier here for the Terrorblade overall. And the same circumstances are coming out. WS gets a solo lane for the most part. The pressure is diverted elsewhere. So the Doom is going to be able to hit that level 6 spike, and maybe things start to happen off the back of that. We'll get the dive under the tier 1 again.
They certainly will. Still trying to find more, but Natsumi actually going to pick off Cox by the looks of it. Cox is going to go down. These dives not really panning out because Talon are rotating consistently to ensure that Natsumi does remain alive as they do find one. Jokam now being targeted does also go down as a Bart doing a lot of damage. Now Armel rotating over, has found the Tiny. They'll stomp him up to boot. Makoto still able to walk out of there. Armel, however, still trying as a Bart dropping low, should go down and does. WS now on a Ponyo. Armel's gone too far. The Doom is out. Talon, they will respond. And WS will walk out with a triple kill.
Oh, that is just ridiculous timing. WS hit 6 off the back of those kills that happen around him off of a bot just being out of position and melting to that burn. And that is just such deep commitment from Kukuys. I mean, I did say I wanted to see aggression from this lineup. It needs to be a little bit more measured because these targets are fairly tanky. And a Tiny has a lot of HP, 1.9k you have to try to eat through on Mikado when he does have these strength boots up. had a lot to kind of juggle around. You've got Natsumi, who is a little bit softer, but does have a lot of armor to play with. And maybe your response was just a little bit late. Felt like you maybe wanted that earlier. Oh my god. An earlier move out from Armel, but you kill a bot twice now. Doesn't have a TP as well. That is going to slow down his Terrorblade. He's already lagging behind in net worth here, Mikey, with his Bristleback. That is a rough time for Kukuys. Off the back of, again, a very forced deep chase there.
Absolutely was. Kukuys is maybe just getting a bit too excited here in this this game too. The thing is, they are playing up against Talon. I suppose they feel as though they just need to play as aggressive as humanly possible with this draft, and I don't necessarily disagree with that sentiment. I think it is very important that they just keep running at Talon. Don't give them the openings and the space they need for their cores to get that initial farm that they're looking for, because we've seen what happens when you do give them that space that they require.
And they always do find a way to just build that network up quicker than you'd expect. And the effort was good, but all the cores on Talon right now, even on network at the top, only Armel kind of keeping up pace here on the puck. And it does feel like for Kukuys, this is your one key to tempo later on. And the fact that your hard control for the puck isn't really there, unless you somehow land a great initial stun into, say, the calling to pin down the puck, or you catch him out while Phase Shift is there and get the calling on top. That's probably your easiest bet. You really don't want to have to commit Doom on WS, because you are concerned about Terrorblade with the Sunder or the Bristleback of Cox maybe running away with the game. It does provide a lot of angles for the puck, because there's so many things to think about here on Talon. Not much to think about in the chase down on Ponyo.
Ponyo, yeah, it should be a nice easy kill here for Makoto to secure, and he does get it. Definitely not too much to think about. They'll be able to focus down that top tier 1 tower now. Again, happy days for Talon, as it seems like the game is well and truly back in their favor, and this is where things get scary if you are up against Talon. It's never easy in this position.
No. And they're starting to get that tempo swing with a tier 1 top clear. They already have a nice deep ward by the outpost to watch forward farm. And maybe not getting as much value once a tier 1's gone, but they can start to set up in that deeper top jungle, of course, where a bot is farming. Try to pressure the Terrorblade. It's been a rough time for Cox. Like, again, he was getting good aggression in lane. He's 2 parts into the Ags, but he's still like number 5 in net worth for the cores. Not the best position for the Bristle. And the Ags could help accelerate that farm at the least, so you will have some comeuppance later on. It's just a matter of whether or not that damage is enough for the cores. It should still be enough for all of these supports, but you're dealing with high armor cores in that DK. Even in the Doom as well, and the Tiny, as Grow comes up. I don't think you're going to be getting Bristleback burst plays onto any of these targets anytime soon. Bit of a smoke out from Talon. They've got that blink on Mikato. They've got the level 3 Avalanche with maxed out Toss. So melting their own targets here, it's not going to take too long. They just need to find an angle in. Cox is a little bit deep onto the tier 1, and they don't quite have the forward wards on Talon to fully scout out. So might be a little bit tougher to kind of identify the targets. Again, the side of Kukuys now playing a lot more reserved than they were a while ago. Just because, again, they missed some of their marks there. Still get the rune control for Mikado off the smoke at the least, so Invis could lead to some rotation still. But not finding anything. They've got room for the tier 1, and the defense opportunities for the side of Kukuys, not particularly amazing either. Maybe if you had level 6 on your ET, you had the threat of an Earth Splitter to try to punish if you're clumped up. Could be a little bit smoother. Not quite there either. Still, trying for a smoke on the Kukuys. Don't quite have the blink on Armel, but they do have that little extra damage on the Witchblade. And again, they've got that coil ready.
They do. Will commit. Armel moving in. The Muerta has been caught, so it's probably just going to be Jokam here. Everyone else looks like they've gotten out just fine. Not really the biggest loss in the world if you are either side, and well, that'll be about it. They'll walk away with the easy pick.
You're happy enough in Jokam. WS was right next to him. The fact that it's not the Doom falling part, not the higher net worth target, not a core, more than enough for you to just kind of be happy here. You are buying space out on Kukuys as well, right? Like Cox gets the right side to farm, and the Ancients, 1 part away now from that Ags. You're getting some space for a bot. Like, there's not been any forward smokes into that top jungle. So the Terrorblade's been allowed to sort of recover into this Manta-style build-up. And that is still set to come up at a very decent time. And Talon aren't keen on clumping up outside of that one smoke they made with Mikado just yet. They could try again. They've even got Natsumi around. It looks like they just want a simple take on the tier 1. And they'll be able to find it. Again, the defensive tools for the side of Kukuys, it's starting to come online. At least, you have level 6 up on your supports. You've got the splitter.
Moving in,
okay.
No? Alright, that's a problem. They will lose the mid-tier 1 tower while they're at it, and well, that's a little bit concerning.
That was quicker than I'd expect. I thought the puck would just be able to dodge out a little bit more. I thought Armel would expect Mikado to be backing up Natsumi in that move. It's a little bit careless. And punishment is nice and clean. With a mid take and invading this top jungle, it's a lot easier. There's a hell lot of sentries here from the side of Kukuys though to ensure vision doesn't come in, and they've got some sneaky wards to at least watch WS's hat. But again, you're not in a stable position just yet in Kukuys. All of your core is still somewhat in recovery mode. A bottom network core right now. And Talon are just hitting their strides. All the freest space in the world for Natsumi to hit this S and Y timing. With that armlet and Mask of Madness already up and running. Quick BKB for WS to sustain true and just find the targets he'd want. And the Echo Saber for Mikado not too far off either. So they're starting to hug that top. Maybe could afford to get a couple of more wards, some vision down. They are trying to chase, but again, just a little bit too slow there. They try to catch out a bot, but they are denying map space away. Like, a bot's forced to hug top. The rest of his team is taking this free farm bot, but the Terrorblade's the one struggling. It's an interesting choice to split these resources on the side of Kukuys. That the Terrorblade has to take the riskier farm up top where Talon's constantly presenting themselves.
They're going to find a bot. That's a massive pickoff once again. Very, very tough times here for Kukuys as they're just dropping like flies left, right, and center. Talon just complete control with the 3k advantage now. Not exactly what you wanted to see after that laning stage, but I mean, even the top 3 net worths on the board now, all just the cause of Kukuys. And wow, I mean, if you're, excuse me, rather Talon, and if you're Kukuys, you just need to maybe take it easy for a bit, because you're starting to really fall apart here. Like, you don't really have a farm bristleback to rely on right now. Like, Cox is going to try now. Ags is up at the very least. Coil is going to lock down the DK, but Natsumi's going to go for the man fight. Meanwhile, Kuku in the middle of nowhere does get caught out, but they're probably still going to find this bristle as they are still trying. Almost there. They'll take Cox down as Jokam's still looking for more. Will not be able to continue. He does drop. So 2 supports for an offlane bristleback. Not really the worst trade either.
Yeah, considering how far behind you are on the side of Kukuys, you do actually get a little bit more for your trouble there. Just a little bit unfortunate on the bounces for Kuku on his Chain Frost coming down into the bottom area where Joel had no one next to him. So he didn't really manage to get the full damage value you'd want to try to turn around. WS, of course, not even bothering to really try to help out too deeply. Does have his BKB fully up. And that is a little bit of a gold injection for the side of Kukuys. Allows them to equalize just a tad bit more. Like, you've got the blink on Armel. It's easier for the puck to start to play this game now. You need more durability up on Cox for sure, and the Ags alone doesn't quite cut it. But at the least, you can expect some plays from RML. So they'll go for a little bit of smoke on the Kukuys, looking for that gate movement into top. And this could be a good ambush to have. Jokam is the one taking forward position, though. WS is hanging further away. And trying to catch a core might be a tricky prospect here.
Well, they're going to find at least one in the support. So Jokam will go down, but that's enough information for Talon to just get the hell out of there. Not really too concerned, and as I say, get out. Natsumi's still waiting to see if he can jump in. Oh, whoopsie daisies. Stuns an illusion of his own teammate. I guess it happens. Still chasing Cox. Cox is okay for now. Dragon Tail is back up though. Cox is set to fall surely. He'll try to juke them out. He's doing a decent job so far. And it looks like he actually has made it out. Very good.
A little bit of an interesting poke and prod from Talon. Dragon form only half duration, so it's not going to be they're not going to be too keen to try to push out any further, and they didn't even bring Mikado in. So you don't have your Tiny there with the Avatos to try to instantly nuke. We'll just have to sit back and relax. WS was a little bit... He was very patient. Like, he had Doom on cooldown, so he didn't instantly try to look for that play in on Jokam. But again, that cost him a little bit of an opportunity. I do appreciate the defensive wards coming out here from the side of the Kukuys. Watching that top jungle in a nice off angle, this is one of the harder wards to spot. But they haven't really done anything about Talon's own wards here. Watching into that forward top jungle. And Talon are still trying to play around that vision. They're still hanging around. I mean, the 2K advantage at this point, 19 minutes in. Not the most meaningful for Talon, considering that strong start. So you have done a great job of kind of recovering on Kukuys. Like, you're hanging in this game, you're pretty much neck to neck. And you're slowly set to scale up as well with all the space given to Abba.
WS maybe could get found out here at the top side of the map. There is a bit of a group up from Kuku as well. Looks like they are currently keeping tabs on Cox. Jewel, probably going to be the easier target. They'll make the jump in. Should be one down eventually here, and they do get it. Jewel is gone. Nice start. Looking for more. Ponyo is going to be able to run away. Talon, they'll accept the kill. Instead, moving into the mid lane where Abba was showing. They don't really have the gap closed though, because the blink on Makoto was on cooldown, so unable to get within range for the TB. Man, I didn't realize as well how low on net worth Abba really was right now, but my god, he's really down there. It has not been a good time at all.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. He's just been bottom network core. And it kind of stems back to the choices from Kukuys. Putting the Terrorblade up top to farm. Right? They kind of left him to take that difficult position while the forward wards were there from Talon. A little bit of a misplay from Armel. Couldn't quite latch on with the Dream Coil. Doesn't find a freebie kill for himself. And again, like, this Terrorblade... I mean, he has managed to recover, at the least. Like, the gap between him and Mikado is not too far. He's only about 1k behind from the highest on his team in Armel. And being 3k behind Natsumi after all of that laning pressure is still a decent space to be in. Talon, interesting spot to catch heroes here.
Yeah, they found themselves in Elder type. Not the biggest deal, but they'll take it. I don't think they can really think about Roshan yet. I mean, they probably could actually, if they really wanted to, but I doubt they'll try. They'll just continue just hunting down, farming up. No need to rush the game once again, as they have found themselves in a pretty clear lead. And if anything, it's Kukuys that need to find a way back into this.
Yeah, it's a matter of when do the Kukuys feel ready to play. Because it just hasn't felt like they've been set to take these fights for 10 minutes now, almost. Like, there's this timing for Cox to hit the BKB. With that front line on the Bristle, maybe your confidence starts to come back in. And you're working on the links for Armel to not just get held back by, say, a Dragon Tail stun. So there are some things to grow into here for Kukuys before getting fully comfy. The side of Talon, though, I mean, you're hitting massive spikes for Natsumi. He's working onto a Silver Edge for a break option onto that Bristle. You've got WS almost done with the Sanjin Yasha. He just kind of needs a little bit more gold in the courier to be up. We'll have that added stat resist and move speed as well to help with the chase down. Even Kuku, right? Like, he's starting to get into that blink that we tend to see on the Lich. He has his shard. Once the blink is up, solo pick-off potential is there. So you can even start to bank on some of the talent supports to make a play for yourself here. Side of Kukuys are smoked up down bot once more. No one from the side of Talon kind of playing here, though. Could maybe try to set up for their own Roche, and it looks like that is the idea. Metamorphosis is ready. It shouldn't take too long with a Bristleback and Terrorblade on hand. Talon cannot afford to give that away for free. It's such an even game that this one advantage on a secondary life can just open things up for the side of Kukuys. See if they make it there in time with this Roche. And it goes quite quick, all things considered.
Yeah, it certainly is. Roshan's still going down. I mean, they've got a little bit of time to try and get in there, but Roshan is now officially gone. Cox immediately just going to pick up the Aegis and TP out of there. They are going to leave behind Ponyo, so at least one will go. But Cookie is definitely getting a pretty big win. You know, not giving up the Aegis immediately. Talon probably going to be a little bit annoyed that that happened right underneath their noses. But they tried to get there, John. They just weren't able to get there quite in time. Not the end of the world. they are still definitely the stronger team here in this best of, or rather this game 2. And Natsumi's just casually taking both bottom T1 and 2 towers. While that happened, he just doesn't care.
No, I think that's one way to kind of compensate for that. He is, again, very close to that full Silver Edge, has the Shadow Blade set to fly out now. And once you have that break, Cox is going to be a little bit of a sitting duck. Like, he can't afford to go back for the Bloodstone after that slower start. They will at least trade a Tier 1 top for the trouble, but trying to commit onto the Tier 2 looks like a little bit of a pipe dream at the moment. Natsumi's actually on the hunt. This is a little bit scary. If he had backup here...
Jules gonna pop the Demonic Purge. Makoto just happily jumps in for the quick kill onto the Shadow Demon. Does save the life of a butt, at least, so... You've got that. That's somewhat of a good news.
Yeah. Again, just a little bit keen. Unfortunately, the spacing for Talon doesn't quite lead him to get that timing to just try to crush a bot, especially since he doesn't have Aegis. Would have been a very nice pickup for Talon to try to increase this lead. It maintains at 5k. You've got room down bot now for the side of Kukuys to try it for their own shove. And Jokam is the one to get caught out. Muerta as well, not the biggest target, but hey, we'll take it.
Gets to piece the Veil off in time as well. He's actually not dying that quickly. I mean, eventually they should have him, but Makoto's here to help out, and Cox feels the need to just get out of there. So Ponyo's actually just left behind. So even the Muerta not that easy of a target to take down here, and yeah, sadly they have to let it go.
That is not good news for the side of Kukuys. I mean, again, this is their Aegis timing. They kind of want to find as many pickoffs into softer objectives outside, like the Tier 2s. Haven't even been able to find any of that. You at least get the BKB up on Cox off the back of that with him not dying. But it doesn't even feel like Talon are playing into Aegis. Feels like they're in control of this game so far.
Okay. Wow. That's a big one. Armel is gone now. What is happening?
I mean, to be fair, it's not like you expect the DK to just randomly be running in way beyond his creep wave under Shadow Blade. But at the same time, you have to respect the fact that Shadow Blade is in the game into the Silver Edge. Like, you're going to have one on Jokam as well. He's starting to save up for his own Shadow Blade. Maybe a Silver Edge for that secondary break. A bot?
Let's get caught, but he's alright. He's running out of there. He'll be just fine. Oh boy, he's still just backs against the wall here. At least the Bart now third in net worth is kind of catching up, as Jokam's actually just man-fighting Cox right now. Does get the Rod of Atos off, but there was no real backup, so they do let the Bristleback run. Boy, oh boy, though, it's just... The fact that the Muerta is just confident enough to stand there and just keep going. In fact, Cox now being hunted again by Jokam. Under vision, meanwhile Kuku just jumping onto Jewel on his own, and Jewel... I mean, certainly has no way out of this situation. And they might as well just go for the Tier 2 top tower while they're here.
Yep. No reason to fear whatsoever. Talon just in complete control, finding all these pickoffs. A bot again. A little bit of a chase does at least have the Hurricane Pike to get out of danger, but it just... We haven't seen any movement out from Kukuys that spells confidence. They're smoked up now. They've got the Linken's arm on Armel. This could be the difference maker here.
Well, they have found Cox immediately, though, and with the breakout, the Aegis is just immediately down. They'll pop the Dream Coil out onto this DK. He'll break the coil as well, so Natsumi's dropping pretty low, but Abart's dropping even lower now. Abart is just deleted. Lord. Cox still trying to fight. Does at least go for Natsumi, but the armlet toggles are coming out. Natsumi's actually not dead yet. Cox still desperately trying for the turnaround.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, Natsumi just armlet toggles through all of it. Oh, boy, it's just so tough.
It
They're
is.
giving no leeway.
There really isn't, Armel.
Oh, what's he gonna do here? Just gotta jaunt away.
At least he snipes the one boss that he had the target for, but it's not enough. Again, on the side of Kukuys, they're getting torn apart by Talon. Like, it's this itemization from Talon, as they will find Ponyo in the end. A little bit of a revenge out from Mikado on former teammates. You okay?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like Jules gonna die. Eventually. And there you go.
I'm trying to find a way for the Kukuys to ride back in. I don't think this Terrorblade is like a great be-all, end-all up against what you have in the DK on hand, right? Like, you already have the Daedalus up on Natsumi, you've got the Doom you have to worry about, you've got all the magic damage still coming in from the Tiny and the Muerta even, and the Lich, which just lingers on forever. You're keeping track of a bot once more, and Talon are starting to get feisty here. 21 to 12, 12k advantage. And for the Kukuys, I think this passive play, again, after being aggressive in lane, coming back into the mid game and just taking things slow, has not panned out. Talon are happy to play the farm game with Doom and DK, and even with Tiny for Mikado scaling in here.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
And they just have to seed ground, right? Like, even if you're not finding these jumps in,
Dire's middle
your
tower
options on the
has
side of
fallen.
Kukuys are just so limited. You have this high ground play with Split Earth at the very
Dire's
least,
middle
the
tower
Earth
is
Splitter,
under
but
attack.
and then the follow through doesn't feel clean. Natsumi's just constantly hunting down with that break now.
Oh, Cox. He'll get away with the BKB. Kuku does go down. Makoto still chasing Cox. Almost gets the kill, but not quite. Cox will barely survive. Meanwhile, Natsumi being completely surrounded may not actually give a crap though, as he just takes down a Bart because he was doomed up. A Bart could do nothing about it. So you get Kuku down, you almost lose Cox to just Kuku, and you still lose a Bart anyway.
Yeah, it's tough times for Kukuys. I don't think you can take these direct confrontations on Talon. You just have to, again, try to smoke, try to flank, but even that doesn't feel great with your lineup. Your single target burst is kind of contingent on you wasting a lot of spells. So your options are just dodging out this ball of death the Talon has on hand. Try to get some forward vision to farm a little bit more aggressive. Maybe if you can get control down bot, like some forward wards bot where Talon hasn't been dipping into as much. You can get some space out. You could start to do some puck things with Armel. Like he's working into the Parasma. Along with that, Octarine already has a shard, so his right-click damage is starting to skyrocket. And if they can stall this game into, say, puck Ags timing, that's one way to kind of have a slippery hero that could maybe turn the tide for you. But as of now, it just doesn't feel that way. Even with the defense Armel has, with his Lincoln's up, it just hasn't felt like it's been enough. Talon just feeling like they're on a different level as they're still playing around vision that the side of Kukuys haven't cleared out again.
Dire
Well,
are
there goes
scanning.
Natsumi. Silver Edge committed. Cox does not know he's coming. Now he might, but it's all too late because he's been caught out and he's down. It's just so easy with Natsumi once he gets in for the break. And it's like, what the hell are you meant to do about it? It's just so tough.
I'm not sure anymore. It feels like, again, this kind of stems back to
Dire's top
being a very disruptive puck game, as Ponyo just gets blown apart by Mikado. But I think this game kind of starts to hinge on Armel more than anything else. It's down to him. It's down in this puck to put waves, prevent the high ground push, try to scale, try to hit that Parasma Octarine, and probably the Ags on top for the damage output. And then things can start to not necessarily simplify, but get complicated for Talon. Still, you have some nice spikes. Abbat does have the Scotty up to mitigate some of the healing coming out on Talon's end as well, to soften up, say, Natsumi on that DK. He does have full Satanic pretty much done here, just about 500 gold off. Side of Talon, again, just set to invade, take the Tormentor away, and get the free shard onto WS. A little bit more coming out there with a Scorched Earth. And there's that Satanic we were talking about. You've got your own Shadow Blade coming on Mikado. You already had yours in Jokam for a while, so just so much invis on hand, which again just drains the economy of these supports, having to go into constant sentries and dust. I'll try for a smoke on Kukuys. You do not want a direct confrontation. You do want some isolated targets. Natsumi's pretty isolated up top. It's just a little bit far off. Mikado is also somewhat alone towards this mid lane. But this Tiny is not the easiest target, especially since he still has a 8-second BKB here.
Well, they're going to jump. Makoto is just going to BKB TP out, and that's going to be about it. TP's incoming, but unrequired.
Radiant's middle tower is under
Talon
attack.
more than happy to just hold this position by the low ground. at the southern side of the map.
Radiant structures.
Natsumi gonna walk in, he'll spot out a Bart that's a big target, and they'll make the jump in immediately. No hesitation, looking for the TB. Disruption might buy a bit of time for a Bart, but how are you gonna find your way out of this one when you've been doomed up? The answer is you just don't. Meanwhile, Armel being caught by Kuku. Kuku just catching him off guard, takes him down with a chain frost, and oh, this game once again is looking pretty over now if you are Kukuys. Cox trying to get away. Natsumi going to catch him, trying to farm the Ancient. Will go down as Natsumi now getting tipped by his teammates. My goodness.
And Talon is just playing on such a clean level. Armel asking, could you guys not play so good? And of course, expletives out from a bot. He says they feel like kids. You made us turn into kids. You're bullying kids. I mean,
that way at the moment, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, says it all. There's really not much to say. I'm just surprised, like Armel just getting caught in the side. Man, this Lich pick, man, this hero is just too much. And 2 games in a row now for Kuku. 2 set racks, 1 more to go. Kuku is not calling it yet, of course, as this is potentially leading into Talon for 1 game away to qualify for Raleigh, which is not what you want to see if you are, again, on Kukuys. 1 last fight, perhaps, as they catch people off guard here.
Yeah, they sure do. Big dream call out from Armel. Not really going to matter, though. They're going to lose Ponyo immediately. A butt is also gone, and GG has called. Game 2, successfully the way of Talon in quite a convincing fashion once again. Talon not looking like they're budging whatsoever here.
That they don't. And for the Kukuys, it's tricky to say that this was down to draft, because I feel like
it's best of 5 series. I mean, you just wonder, are we getting to a game 4 with this draft? Kukuys running it back. They don't have the DK to worry about this time, but they have something much more standard in the gyrocopter, as we do once again have the trash. I don't even know if it's trash talk, but they're talking. They're talking again.
No. Yeah, Cox is saying, don't play good to Natsumi, and a bot is asking for it to turn into a best of 7, so they have to play 1 more game. Good on you.
Not sure if yeah, it's nice of him to ask. You miss every shot you don't take, John. You know, he's asking. It's respectable.
They keep telling them to just... They keep saying, don't play good. Kuku saying, put that aside, leave it to me, says Kuku, to give them the game.
Oh, look at this, top lane. Kuku and Jokam going to be chased up for a second. Looks like they'll be okay.
That is a sad level 1 metamorphosis for Cox. Used up already, doesn't really get chip damage off. Maybe if Natsumi oversteps his bound, but you don't have reflection now. You know, you're going to miss some pressure in the first wave or 2. You at least find yourself extra bounties, I suppose, if you can get away with that one here on the side of Kukuys.
Here we go, Talon. Moving in, Flame Break's going to be quite nice. Cox has been caught. Blood Grenade will connect, though a nice Earth Spike from Jewel, but it won't really matter. Cox still running, barely makes it out on 40 HP. Ponyo now being chased up by Natsumi. Natsumi actually went level 1 Flak Cannon, sadly enough, so he can't really get the kill. But they do get 2-3 heroes quite low and kind of force them to go for the Fountain reset. If anything, just... And Cox, he's not going to go back to the Fountain, of course. He'll go back to the Tier 1 tower. And we do have the dots out from Natsumi. Not too happy that he wasn't able to secure anything here.
Now, a pretty decent enough start for the side of Kukuys, right? They get an extra bounty rune for all of their troubles. They kind of mitigate this early metamorphosis usage as well, because, hey, you don't die, you're not giving away a kill, it's a little bit more time, and you force out the flak on Natsumi for a little bit more farm emphasis. Mana is also starting to run low here on Kuku, only leaving 1 more cast of the Lightning Bolt, having to rely on the Magic Stick charges now to try to have some play. There are a couple of things that are pretty happy for Kukuys to at least establish a good time in the first 2 to 3 waves here. We'll see if they can start to capitalize. Of course, once Cox has Reflection, that lane does become a little bit more manageable with your presence here on the TV. And again, Natsumi doesn't have that chase down until Rocket Barrage. Even then, you're probably looking at Rocket Barrage level 2, so you're looking at the level 3 spike up top. And take a look at that mid lane, which should be pretty good for Mikado, although so far not going too bad for Armel. An even start in terms of CS. The Lina versus Puck matchup, pretty fine for Lina, but the Puck for the most part doesn't really lose this. You play a little bit further back, you've got the phase shift dodge for a very telegraph spell in the Dragon Slave, and you can maintain parity this way for Armel and just shoving the wave back. Getting some CS, getting some free regen with that phase shift every single time, and does make it a little bit harder for Mikado to fully shove him away. And this one should stay pretty even back and forth here, maybe slightly easier for Mikado every single time. Phase shift is down. Early cooldowns are not the shortest in the world. There are some windows of opportunity there to play with. Elsewhere though, down bot, you've got that Doom and Batrider up against the Clock and Bristleback of Ponyo and the bot. This lane is, again, kind of alright. Yeah, you just kind of sit back, farm. There's some chase down potential with some repositioning on the Flame Break if you're not too careful. But Ponyo can complicate things with the cogs at the very least. And you don't have the most mana on WS to kind of sustain through, but he does have that early wand. You're up against Bristle. You're always going to get max value there. And they've already managed to do a great job in just keeping a bot at around half HP. So, again, if you overstep your bounds, you will get pressured in. And so far, the lane's pretty alright for Talon. Not too bad for the side of Kukuys as well. But I can see Talon maybe starting to eclipse if they start to get into those level 3 starts that we're looking for here.
Absolutely. Looks like Jewel gets quite low on the line. We'll be able to retreat. WS is off to a really nice start on this Doom. Kind of hard. This guy doesn't generally lose many lanes, this WS fellow. Already having another nice start to his game. And the Bart doing pretty well as well, but you kind of expect that from Bristleback. Bristleback should really just dominate these style of lanes anyway. But Talon doing very good at just controlling the creep wave, dragging it underneath the tier 1 tower for WS to safely farm up. Looking back at mid, Armel a little bit behind in the CS, but you kind of anticipate that to happen against this mid laner. Because you do have the bottle refill coming in from Jewel. Keep Armel healthy, as they are going to perhaps look to try and deny Makoto those water runes at the 4-minute mark. Either way, though, I don't think Makoto minds too much. You know, he's just... If he misses the water rune, he'll just go farm the jungle for a bit. You know, he won't mind too much. And in fact, Jewel doesn't even stick around. So it looks like they're just going to give it up 1-for-1 here between these two mid laners.
Yep. And again, that's pretty fine for Mikado. Gonna have the mana to just constantly apply harassment. Once he hits, he's holding on to the value point to see if he has to go for the LSA or if he can greed out, just go Dragon Slave, and he does commit to it in the end. No first blood coming out yet, 4 minutes in. But both sides, again, maybe a little bit more conservative in how they're playing the lanes beyond that aggression on the runes. This kind of static style, again, I would say just benefits Talon. You have space to just sit back and farm. Your supports are soaking up some decent EXP. You have some possible rotations into the 6-minute mark where it could be a little bit easier for the side of Kukuys. When you have a line and clockwork, there's a little bit more pressure to play with. Trying to make some inways onto trying to harass out Natsumi, but they do manage to get the gate movement out from Ponyo as well. It's just a very deep dive if they did want to commit here.
Well, they're thinking about it. Kuku's not going to make it easy. He kind of just blocks the pathing there, and they're actually bringing more heroes. In fact, it's just the courier of Ponyo coming through the twin gate. But they don't really find a kill. They'll force Natsumi back at least. So Natsumi now forced to go into the jungle a little bit earlier than he would like. So they are still hanging about Ponyo. Really wanting to see if he can connect onto Kuku. But the heavenly jump away is going to work. And now the TPs are incoming. Talon, they want to fight. Joe Cam, though, getting caught by a Hex. Not feeling too happy right now as he might just get bursted down. First blood being drawn by Cox. A great start to this fight as now Natsumi dropping low, trying to fight back Cox, though. Cox will man up. He'll get a double. Looks like Kuku at least will be able to find a double kill of his own. But definitely a favorable set of trades now for Kukuys.
Cost them a lot of heroes to rotate up top, but they do manage to get that punishment onto the gyro and finally get a little bit going there for Cox. I don't think you actually mind giving Kuku this extra gold, though. Like, a support Zeus managing to get a ride into Arcane Boots quite fast is really not all too bad anyway. And getting that utility down the line, your standard Zeus support build-up is good. Some moments of openings here for Mikado.
This is a big one. He's got a Fairy Fire to play with. In fact, Makoto turns back on a Jewel. Does get a kill for himself, but can he get out? The answer is no. Armel does secure a very nice one. So yeah, you lose your Lion, but it's a very worthwhile sacrifice here from Jewel. Armel extremely happy with that kill. And even finds a nice little invis rune for himself right afterwards. So you really can't complain. WS.
I like that
Bit of a chase here on a bot.
Dire's structures are
No level 6 yet, so no kill to come.
I like the emphasis we're seeing from Kukuys to pressure that mid. Right, again, just making these moves after getting a bit of a reset from top, like all of this aggression coming out in lane. We saw this in a little bit in game 2, where they were playing around the 6 to 10 minute mark quite nicely. And this is exactly the one thing I'd want from game 2 to be replicated. Just that higher tempo, try to slow down. I think those key factors from Talon that they tend to rely on, like this early start from Mikado, and put a little bit of a lid on it. This is giving free space out to WS, but it is a Doom anyhow. It was always going to be farming up. So that is something that just ends up happening by the natural order of the game. Anyway, I think the one thing that could catch you off guard is maybe this faster level 6 on Kuku, who again, off the back of that double kill, is going to be scaling up nicely. Even scouts out Armel just a tad bit here.
It does. Armel looking at Kuku. Should have a Zeus for himself, and he does. Kuku will go down. Nobody around to help out the POS 5 Zeus, but it is still just a POS 5 Zeus. Not the biggest loss. More importantly, though, Kukuys, they are going to be able to start pressuring that T1 top tower, which is going to be the more important aspect of all this, is they do take it out.
That opens up an angle to apply even more pressure onto Natsumi. If they had the forward wards, Mikado's hunting here, though.
He is, Mikado. Doesn't really find much. What did he Laguna?
You Laguna their Terrorblade, and there was a Sunder on top.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, a little bit slow. Maybe a little bit hasty, not waiting for Kuku to come in with that Lightning Bolt, and not quite having the Thunder God's Wrath. They do miss out on a nice opportunity, and it's a good dodge out. I mean, it's a long cooldown on the Sunder, but you're just going to be sitting back and farming anyhow while that is down. And you are, again, finding this early tempo coming out for Kukuys. You're having a great start for Armel and a bot. Not that you're too far behind on WS and Mikado, but Natsumi has taken the big hit from that pressure top. We'll need some recovery to get into that point where the Crystallis and the Ags start to form up. You do have, again, that level 6 threat on Kuku. Thunder God's Wrath is available if you can drop any of these heroes low. The issue is if you can even hope to get that done without Mikado having to commit in either, because WS is not ready for it, Natsumi's not ready for it. You will have to kind of rely on Mikado again to play Tempo Maker here, and so far, he's just not quite set for it. You know, that timing into travels is still lining up. Until that point, he's not really going to be leaving his lane all too often unless a bit of a dive happens, which relieves, again, all of this room you'd want on Kukuys to scale in. Armel working onto the Witchblade quite nicely here, and a very free lane for a bot outside of the pokes from WS. This Ag's timing is looking pretty sharp for our safe lane. So the Bristle is going to be able to flash farm off the back of that and even threaten onto these targets quite nicely. WS.
They're moving in. WS taking a lot of damage. Going to go for a TP play out, and they actually don't have anything else. Jewel just committing all the spells he had. No TP cancellation available for him. WS quick thinking to get away. Of course, you expect maybe a kill attempt to come out soon from WS, as he does have the Doom up. Has the drums up now as well. Might need a little bit of assistance though, but the rest of Talon currently just a little bit underfarmed. And we see this pretty much 2 games in a row now, where Talon don't necessarily come out with the most farm after the lanes, but they do tend to catch up extremely fast. And so they are going to find Ponyo, just trying to get him away from that dire triangle, and they will do so. Again, WS has Doom, so they're looking for an easy kill if they can find one. Because a Bart would be the primary kill if you could commit, but you're going to need a couple heroes at least for that. And a Bart is right by his tier 1 tower, so I don't think it's going to be that simple to try and hope for that kind of kill. In fact, we're going to see a smoke now from Kukuys. They'll head down bottom. Kuku gonna get Dream called up. WS is still around to help. Looks like the Zeus is gonna get just bursted down, and they do get him. But now, what do you pay for that? At least Jewel will go. Abart's being chased. WS still holding on to the Doom. Jokam, not level 6 yet, so you've got no lasso to play with. And so they'll take the 1-for-1 trade and that'll be enough. Both sides will just kind of accept it and leave each other alone.
I don't think you're too unhappy about that on either side. It is a little bit more gold coming out for Kukuys, but it's a very even trade. I think you're looking at the space you're building up, and that does buy Cox so much free space up top. Mass TP's coming in to try to stop, or at least contest this terribly a little bit more before the pipe kicks in, because he's not too far off Cox. And we've seen what happens when Terribly does farm that pipe. Like, the magical burst you're looking at here from Talon that starts to feel less effective against that hero.
Oh, Cox. They'd love themselves a TB. They've got it as well. Light Strike right onto Makoto. Cox still getting a nice Sunder off. Does find Ponyo as now the lasso is officially available for Jokam. He literally just hit it as well off the back of that Clockwork Death. So hits level 6, gets the lasso. Nice call from Makoto to finish the Clockwork kill first to allow the lasso back onto Cox. And that's a couple of great kills. That was a 1.3k gold swing going the way of Talon.
And that's some much-needed momentum coming out from them, and much-needed punishment. Again, a very free time that Cox was having there. A little bit of a cheeky flank from the side of Kukuys. Deep smoke between the Tier 1, Tier 2. They catch Mikado off the back of this. Have to be well worth it.
They don't have Finger. They do have an amp damage, though, on Armel, and that's going to prove to be enough. It's a great pick off. Armel having a much better game than last game around, as he will just try to TP out, but no, the stuns are there. Jokam with the knockback into WS, the alley-oop. And that's that kind of evens out the trade. Like it looked great, and now it doesn't look so great.
Yeah. And, I mean, again, that 1-for-1 is relatively even. It's a little bit better for the side of Kukuys. I think the big thing that the Kukuys are getting a lot more every single time these kinds of trades happen is that it's happening on Talon's side of the map. Right, so you get a little bit more reach because there's no pressure from Talon. They have to stick to their side of the river. You're able to farm a little bit more forward on Cox. You're buying space out for a bot. That safety net for the Bristle, while it's still a little bit weak, is there. And again, it does feel like you're shaping into this timing for the side of Kukuys quite nicely. A bot, his Ags is just about 300 gold away. Once you hit that point, his output starts to really scale out of control. The pipe is only about 370 gold away as well for Cox. You're going to have the barriers on hand. You're going to have the mitigation for all of that magic damage from this Zeus support and the Lina core. And that's where things can maybe get a little bit funky for the side of Talon if they're not careful. Your physical output on Natsumi just isn't there yet. It's lacking 3 parts of his own Ags up. It's going to take some time they need to buy here on Talon. The net worth is still head-to-head. Again, no one really taking a massive lead here. The support farm difference is where things might get a little bit troublesome because you do have that fresh blink on Jokam. You have that initiation angle lined up for you here on the side of Talon. You're still really far away from hoping for one on Joel. And you always have the hookshot from Ponyo, I suppose. But the kidnapping potential for Jokam does put a little bit of a spanner in the works here for the side of Kukuys if they're not too careful. See, when Talon does decide to play around that one is they are, again, just playing a little bit safe, clearing out Ancients with Natsumi. They have managed to scout a little bit here with Ponyo. It'd be a nice target to isolate if they did take that risk.
Seems like they're going to smoke up right below Natsumi right now on the dire triangle. One is in. They've got Natsumi locked down. It should be a pretty easy kill here as there's no rotation point. That's another strong kill here for Kukuys. He's able to find the position 1 pickup, and I mean Natsumi, he's having a bit of a struggle. Like his net worth is nothing to write home about right now. So he's not having a good time. Just finding these pickups over and over again with this gyrocopter always going to be very nice.
It is. Need a little bit more on the side of Kukuys though. Scout it out just a bit.
Jokam, he's got to blink up already on this Bat Rider, looking for some kills as they do take down Ponyo. He wants a little bit more though. They did spot out Jewel, but the Earth Spike is not going to allow the follow. Ooh, Cox. They don't see him. Keep him, again, Blink and Lasso are up. WS going to run into Cox. Cox actually going to try and go for this kill onto the Doom, and with the finger out, maybe no, the BKB. It was there in time. And Cox is now the one in danger. He'll get doomed up. Jokam will happily sacrifice himself to chase him down and ensure he does die. They'll commit a Dream Coil here to at least find Jokam, but Jokam's still alive. Is now Ponyo going to hook shot in. He'll try to go after Kukuys Zeus. They should at least find one.
Ooh.
Jokam will go down to boot. Natsumi's joined in now. Natsumi able to clean up Jewel, but he's being chased here by a bot. WS though sticking around, trying to help Natsumi, but it seems like he should... Oh, that's a nice juke spot, but it's not nice enough. Still a good fight. Natsumi will lose his life here to Kukuys, and had he not lost his life on the gyro, I actually would have thought that was an easy win for Talon. But losing the gyrocopter certainly does not make that anywhere near as good.
It really doesn't. And I do appreciate that understanding from Natsumi to join in that fight. It did feel necessary to leverage that damage. They didn't quite have the AoE control to hold people around that ramp into that top jungle. If they managed to hold them in the ramp area while the flak cannon was going and you had more follow-through damage, and it felt like you had just enough, but you were being punished on the side of Talon as, you know, the cogs are just great area denial tool. Your area denial on Talon isn't quite there. You also didn't quite have the Ags on Mikado up. Is up now, so the burst play should be a little bit easier to find. But that does swing the momentum towards the side of Kukuys. And the key thing is, like you mentioned earlier, Mikey, Natsumi is not having a good game this time around. It's a little bit slower. Has a lot of recovery to get done for himself. One part away now in terms of gold for that entire Ag. Still looking for plays here.
Armel's been blown up. Ponyo's being chased down. Ponyo will drop a bot now in the middle of nowhere. He'll have Cox moving in. He'll try for the chase onto WS. He's still very powerful here, a bot. And it seems like WS should be the sacrificial lamb. I'd still say it's a pretty good trade, though. Finding Armel, you know, maybe a bot's still becoming a bigger and bigger problem, but I think right now any kill you can get as Talon's going to feel good.
That it does. You do have to appreciate, again, just how much Kukuys are playing into this opposite side of the map, right? Well, all of these fights are happening on Talon's turf. They're not able to try to make space off the back of it. Mikado's forced to just TP away, as the bot does have a shard and chase down potential for burst play now. But Talon is the one that hasn't crossed the river this time. This is a spot we haven't seen from Talon in a long, long time, but Kukuys, their pressure has managed to mount. They are stuck on just one side of the map here for Talon. They're not able to try to split farm into that Radiant side and try to build up that way, which leads to a slower recovery process for this gyrocopter and a slower build-up for WS. They catch more.
Yeah, they have found Ponyo, or rather Ponyo found... Oh, he found Makoto. Very, very nice. That's a great pickup. That is a fantastic pickup here. This Makoto was really the saving grace.
He's the one core that's ready to fight. And they just have to sit back and farm. WS, perhaps, once he has that blink, can start to contribute a little bit more. Natsumi with the Ags is good, but you're likely really needing that BKB to be up. For the side of Talon, there's just a lack of space right now. But how much pressure is coming out from Kukuys? Again, this is what we were looking for after Game 2. Just sustained pressure. Because last time in Game 2, around this time, they were more than willing to just farm on their side of the map. Now they've got the aggressive wards. They're the ones with tempo. Talon's the one forced to respond. I'll try to find some punishment. They do smoke up. They've got that Blink Lasso ready here.
They do. Lasso committed. They're now going to find... Oh, that's a big one. They found a bot down. They've even got Cox down. That's such a concern. That could be the turning fight for this whole game. That is massive.
They've two big cores just blown up like that off the back of just a big initiation from Jokam. And that's from the fact that Kukuys were kind of split apart. Like, Armel wasn't quite in the area. Ponyo wasn't sticking around with his other cores as well. And they were punished for just trying to work the map a little bit more. 3k lead suddenly popping out here for Talon off the back of that play. You get some equalization here for Natsumi. I mean, he's still behind. He's still the bottom network core, but at the least the Ags is starting to become a reality into that BKB. You've got enough gold for WS to get that blink up and running. And you've got the room for Mikato now to look into his own BKB. I mean, once you take the threat away of the Dream Coil and the Silence and the Hex, it should be easier for Mikato to play his game. Inside of Kukuys, again, they've still done a great job of pressuring out. And they found one tier 2 tower. They've managed to get some good aggressive wards. They've played off the back of that advantage quite well, but they have to be careful about bleeding it back like this. Like, the 2k lead isn't the most meaningful at 21 minutes in. But it certainly does show you a sign of a little bit of a bounce back here for Talon. Kukuys, though, going for the smoke, but Kukuy is the one to break it.
Kuku does break it. It's a nice but the Dream Coil WS now forced to fight back. Ponyo. Glimmer caped up, will be okay for now, but WS still chasing him down. Meanwhile, Lasso catching out Armel. It's a big target for Jocam, but there's no backup for Jocam. Jocam's gonna die. Makoto did actually end up going down as well to Jewel, which is even worse. And once again, another great fight for this Radiant side. I keep anticipating Talon to take a good fight, but it hasn't been the case.
No? I like seeing this from Kukuys. Again, they're not relenting, even after losing a little bit of an awkward time where they're kind of split apart. This time it's Talon that's just not all together in the same page. WS isn't able to try to get Doom off to back up. Mikado's very far forward in comparison to the rest of his team. And Natsumi, again, is just not quite ready in the Gyrocopter. You have to be careful. I think the ideas on both sides are kind of the same. It's very similar right now where you can't really afford to split apart. There's a lot of very good solo pick-off potential, or even just 2v5, 3v5 sort of advantageous fights both sides can find for themselves. You just can't afford to give that away. A little bit of a smoke out. I'm not sure if that ward caught the edge of it, as WS was in the tree line. You have some leeway to get into it, but Roche is being taken quite fast here from the side of Kukuys. And Talon's just a little bit too far out to try to contest. They could try for the follow-up fight. 2 lives on a bot is a little bit of a challenge to pierce through, but they will force it.
Thunder God's Wrath is out. They're going to get the vision. Jocam looking for a lasso, not finding it yet. Armel popping the Dream Call to ensure he can't continue chasing him down. Is now a Bart wanting to go for the Cool Spray spam. Turns his back, but they don't want to fight the Bristleback as Jocam now caught out. Does go down, but so does Ponyo. 1 for 1 on the supports. Jewel looking for more. Might find Makoto. Oh, he doesn't get the vision. He doesn't get the vision. He doesn't go for the Blind Earth Spike. So all that ends up being is a 1-for-1 trade. But your Aegis is on a butt. So if you're Kukuys, you're pretty happy.
Works out in your favor. Again, you've got an opportunity to perhaps take a fight and try to pressure onto the high ground side of Talon. You don't need to wait for too much. Same thing for Kukuys as well. Your support is coming back in that clockwork in relatively short order. This is just time for Talon to try to get into those BKBs, because that's the big hurting point right now. Natsumi can't just stand his ground and try to utilize his damage with that secondary gunner and Crystallis. You know, the same thing goes for Mikado, still lagging at 400 gold behind into that full BKB. So it's just a matter of stalling out that time and just kind of being patient. The side of Kukuys, again, they've done a great job of playing across the river. Talon are just not able to shove out far enough into the other side. Like, they've only taken 1 tier 1 up top. Mid and bot are still relatively healthy here at 24 minutes in. And it just feels like this game is getting a little bit out of hand for them. I mean, you don't have a big net worth swing to worry about, but all of this investment onto a bot is starting to pay off. He's going to have his own BKB lining up with when Talon finds their own BKB timings here. Like, even a little bit faster because of all of this space that Kukuys has. Have room as well to just siege onto the tier 2s. Talon can't really force a fight outside. And the side of Talon just have to wait. Like, they are being punished for their slower pace now by Kukuys. All it took was just constant aggression after the laning phase. They just have not relented. See if Talon can try to utilize that blink on Jocam. That's been the one thing that has given them some openings here.
See if they can. Oh, Bart, he's very far. Lasso going to drag him into the tier 3 tower. Still a nice Sunder. Cox, he'll get doomed eventually, so he might die to the doom. Bart still trying to fight, does lose the Aegis, but he's got Makoto and WS down. A great start. No buyback available for either of those causes. Now Bart looking for more. We'll move in. There's really nothing to fight against this Bristleback once Makoto and WS are gone. And Natsumi, I don't think, really has the farm to contest the bot, but perhaps without the Aegis up, and the fact that it's a 3v3, it seems as though Kukuys, they won't stick around either. They are going to retreat.
And then I'd say that's a pretty decent win for Talon. Net worth-wise is still a little bit better for the side of Kukuys, as it is a high net worth target in Makoto to fall. Top net worth of the team, but you take away some of that tempo. Jocam, though.
Jocam?
Jocam going down there. I get he's trying to scout, but you can't afford to give these single target pickoffs away side of Kukuys. Again, they've been doing a great job with the vision game. They've been doing a great job with pressure. There's no reason for them to really back out. Mind you, you do hit your BKB timing on Natsumi. Really wants that damage to scale up now with the Daedalus, and that's where things can start to get a little bit easier. Especially with, again, BKBs lining up with Natsumi and Mikado being done. Fresh 9-second charges available. Things start to get a little bit more playable for Talon at that point. The question now is if they still have enough to deal with a bot. Because they took care of one life. You know, he doesn't quite have that full Bloodstone yet, is working his way into that. Bit of a cheeky smoke out from the side of Kukuys to try to find a flank. And if they find someone like Mikado again, that could just destroy Talon on the high ground. They are still reliant on this burst damage from all of their cores. Like, one core falls apart here, the high ground defense just falls flat.
And it does. 4-man smoke committed here from Kukuys. They're going to actually find themselves a +5 Zeus. Kukuy can do nothing about it either. He is down. 3k advantage still standing for the Radiant, but more importantly, just no answers towards a bot yet. They will hold on to the high ground. That's all that's important right now for Talon, is keep buying themselves time to allow themselves back into this game, because right now they are just too far behind the bristle. Wonder how much longer Kukuys will wait to make their own move back to the high ground. I mean, they are posturing as if they want to. Lasso, Joe Cam, not able to find it yet, but he wants the bristle. A nice hook shot, but is it going to cost them? They lost Joe Cam. The Doom was committed onto the bristleback, but he's still happy to fight here. A bot is going to be okay. The BKB was out in time. Cox was behind him with the Sunder. And so they lose their Batrider. They get a Clockwork, but that's all that happens. They do not get the bristleback kill they really wanted.
And they're going to have to wait for that next Doom to really feel comfy for another skirmish here on Talon. What this does do is, again, stall the game out, makes it a little bit less comfy for Kukuys to try to think about a high ground play and try to just work your way into more damage for Natsumi. You are achieving that goal here on the side of Talon at the least. But that's all you can do, right? Like, you can just keep trying to stall, keep trying to get to that point where maybe you can hope for the burst onto a bot if you get that Blink Lasso on top from Jokam. Jokam as well needs that full 4-staff up. Like, it's been so difficult for him to just try to get enough of a drag back to actually get a bot in a position where he's just not going to get saves. It's been rather difficult to find that full push in. We'll see if that timing lines up. Still, a bot finishes up that full Bloodstone. All the life steal in the world now for him to sustain through, even if he's caught out. The Doom has to be on point here from WS to stop that healing. And again, you're beholden to such long cooldowns on Talon that there's so much more time here for Kukuys to play aggressive themselves.
Jump in, Lasso is there. They got a bot. They're going to put him on the cliff. That's what you get. The issue is, like, you put him on the cliff, but you can't do much about him anyway. It's like, who cares? He's just trapped for a moment. Eventually they'll get him out of there, I'm sure. Does nobody have a 4-star? Okay, nobody has a 4-star. A bot will have to TP. But he's okay. His team will ensure that he can't get his TP cancelled.
They have some... Ooh.
Hook. Ponyo is in onto Joe Cam. Joe Cam gonna have a pretty tough time getting out of this one, I think. Yeah, there's no chance. He is down once again. The thing is, Joe Cam's so important for this high ground defense. Like, you really can't afford to lose him just like that. Sadly, they don't seem to have much of a choice in the matter, as now the T3 mid tower will be under siege. And they are not backing off either. They're rushing right into the T4s here with the bot, trying to find at least the Zeus. Meanwhile, WS popping the Doom onto Cox, trying to get rid of this pesky Terrorblade, who's been causing them so many issues. But Cox looks like he's barely going to survive, as WS is the one to go down. They'll at least find Ponyo, but it's still looking really horrible for a defense out from Talon. They'll try onto Armel, but Armel, he is able to jaunt out. They have, however, successfully defended the T3 tower.
They're hanging in. The angles for Talon are just so hard to find. Kukuys are still in a really strong position. Again, net worth lead isn't the biggest in the world. It is 7k up at 30 minutes in. It's a little bit more noticeable considering how far behind you're starting to get here on Natsumi and WS. And your burst damage is starting to get mitigated. Like, Mikado isn't popping off as hard as we've seen our Linus pop off in the past. Like, it's nothing like what we were seeing from Mac in his boom games. You're certainly not able to blow up the heroes you'd want to blow up. You really need that Force Staff to be up in Jokam. Like, this Blink Lasso Force Staff has to be there, and he has to be so careful about being caught before the big team fight can break out. They at least have the vision to watch a little bit more further here on the side of Talon. A defensive ward in that top jungle. Lower wards as well watching outside. Armel takes a little bit of a gambit for the coil. Not the longest cooldown in the world anyhow. Talon has managed to stall to the point where you do have that full Daedalus up on Natsumi. So he has the right click damage to try to pressure. It's all down to how you have to execute on Talon. Kukuys will take a smoke around the map. They've got that full Scotty up on Cox. Trying to sustain true is not going to be that easy. Even trying to run away now is a little bit more complicated. If they find a flank.
Kuku going to be spotted. Tries for the TP play out. Ponyo actually had his hookshot blocked there. Didn't cancel the TP, but Abatas had too much damage. Torments are going to be taken. Jokam looking for a lasso. Not going to find it. And so, I think if you're Kukuys, you're definitely looking for Roshan, and of course they are going to rocket flare it and get the vision now. So off to the Roshan pit they go, and it doesn't really seem like Talon have an opportunity to fight this one. It seems like you are just taking the time to farm because you're still just way too far behind in this gyro. Like, yeah, he's got the Daedalus, but I think the Silver Edge is going to be maybe the big deal breaker here against the Bristleback. And he is now queuing it up, but he just at least needs that to give themselves a decent shot at this.
You don't have a chance without that. Thunder God's Rat will at least spot out Roshan, but again, you're not in position to contest as Talon. They are looking to force in just a bit onto tier 2s. Joke.
He jumps in, but again, the lassos have been pretty hard to get. TPs are coming now as well, so Jokam just wants out, but Ponyo, of course, going to lock him down, and Jokam's just having such a rough time with this Bat Rider. Every time he tries to jump in for a lasso, it's just not working at all. It's either he gets hexed or stunned, or he just finds him glimmer caped and he doesn't have the detection.
Yeah, it's been a very complicated game for Talon, and props to Kukuys for playing again. Nice, hard, and fast in comparison to what we've seen in Game 1 and Game 2. Just applying that pressure. Talon has been digging these greedier drafts. These drafts that do take time to scale up. And this is the result when you play up against a fast team. Speaking of, as well, a while ago you were mentioning a Silver Edge for Natsumi. He has gone into a Swift Blink instead. So he wants to take that Gambit, try to get some more damage out instead of trying to find that source of break for the Bristle. Maybe considering just ignoring the Bristleback as long as possible and killing everyone else off. You'd have the Ag Spike here for Kuku. So the Nimbus is available as well to help scout out and provide some distraction in the middle of these engagements. And again, all things considered, 10k lead for Kukuys at 34 minutes. It is impactful at this point, but it hasn't been growing as fast as you'd expect, considering how much of the map they have under the control. Talon has managed to keep up to a certain extent here. And again, they still hold on to those tier 3s. With the Aegis up though, you should expect some action to start to form into a high ground siege. Full Assault Cuirass ready for a bot. He does buy out the last part in the Hyperstone. And you have Steady Siege. I mean, you've got Demon Zeal up in Cox. He could just send the Illusion Scene and kind of get that done by himself as well. Talon smoked up, but I don't really see them finding anything in the signs. Maybe a bit of a deeper ward run or just a farm run here from Natsumi and Jokam, leaving Mikado and Kuku to just kind of hold back the waves. They are sneaking very deep behind for WS to find his own build-up and away from the watchful eyes of Kukuys. You do at least have that. And they are trying to waste time on the Aegis. I mean, you still have 2 minutes, two and a half minutes here for a bot anyhow. So he's in a very comfy spot. And for Talon, this slow poke.
Oh. Okay, bot. Getting close to taking him out. Cox is going to sunder him. And Cox is literally just a walking sunder at this stage. He doesn't even want to fight. But again, rushing forward, Armel will do the same. Makoto forced the BKB up in case the Dream Core came in, and Jokam again could not find the range to get the lasso off, so Abart's still just free to do whatever the hell he wants. Now an Ag's up on Armel to make matters even worse as they do pop a lasso, but I don't even see what it was on. So 1 for 1. Jokam and Ponyo both going down as WS once again jumping in for the bristle. Abart though still happy to just casually walk out. But it seems as though they might have to let this push go. They'll get a T3 tower. Abart's gonna get sundered again. So he's moving back in. Trying for Kuku, he'll miss out though. Call down committed. Maybe they find the Aegis and they do. That's one life. Coil committed. Kuku's been caught with that, but he's fine by the fountain. So Bart sticks around for a range creep as Kuku finally will go down to Armel. And they'll get the melee barracks as well. Now, Natsumi caught with his pants down in the mid lane. Get his BKB off, but he's got nothing to lifesteal off of. Oh boy, the Natsumi. Caught again.
I don't understand that. Like, he's so far forward, he's not showing the respect for that mobility we've been seeing. Talon was doing a great job in just skirmishing for a little bit. I'm sure losing Kuku is a little bit big. Not the biggest thing in the world, but still something to be happy about in Kukuys. Off the back of that kill on the Gyrocopter, you're free to just keep going. All you lost was Aegis. You don't really have that many great options left on Talon without the Doom available. You have the Lasso available at the least, but I don't see the angles right now for Talon and Kukuys. They rally in this game 3.
Jump in, Jokam, Lasso. This time will connect onto the clockwork, so they'll just try to blow him up, and he finally goes down. But they've got Megas up now. It won't really matter what kind of support kills you can pick off. Mega creeps are available for the Radiant team, and oh, here we go again.
Here we go, Zabat. Saying, don't want to call it still.
That's a fair call. That's a fair call. And Talon, they will not respond. No words for a but. I mean, in Talon, they are, you know, they like these kind of high ground defenses. They like to take their, they like to drag out the game to the last possible second if they can. And they're not out of it yet. It's just, this Gyrocopter's just fallen so damn flat. It's just done nothing this game.
Yeah. It's just been a little bit too slow on Natsumi, and again, I'm not the biggest fan of the Blink pickup over, say, that Silver Edge you were talking about. One big smoke from Kukuys, though. One angle is all it takes. He already bought out Natsumi a while ago.
Well, here we go. They've already found the primary target in Natsumi. It'll be saved by the Ethereal. Pops the BKB. Still trying to run. Abart's got him. They've got to call it now. It's got to be all over. WS still trying. We'll at least find Armel, but Cock's going to save again with the Sunder. GG is called. They've seen enough. And there you go. We are going to a game 4, John. No 3-0 victory here for Talon. They will be forced to a 4th game up against Kukuys, and the props to the boys. They make the good work happen. And Talon, 2-1. Talon is still 1 game away from proceeding through to ESL One Raleigh. They've just got to make sure they don't mess this game up. It's Natsumi still in very good spirits after that horrible game. More talk happening. Well, I feel like Cox has said the same thing about 20 times now.
Yeah, he's just saying Natsumi's full of himself. And about saying, stop doing it, Ed. Joel is saying, keep going, Gyrocopter. Afad is saying, you are the best carry, not Palos. Bless. Armal's asking if this is a challenge for our godfather, Mr. Kuku. Kuku, of course, not chatting. He did say game, so it looks like game mode on for Talon. So strong, huh? Yes, Kuku. Yeah, of course.
Everything Kuku says, I just read it in his accent. You know, he's just got a very distinct voice and accent that is just, no matter what he writes, I'm just reading it in my mind in his voice and accent.
We should have like a text-to-speech generator based off of Kuku's voice, and I think that would be probably the best text-to-speech ever.
I mean, I've got one here, John. You are the text-to-speech.
Yes, I could do it when Kuku chats again. 3 subs from Natsumi. A bot calls him cheap for not giving 3 subs because no reply. But they're already looking at the streaming game once again. As we will have a very even trade in bounties.
You gotta hustle, John. You gotta get those subs where you can. Pro game doesn't matter. Subs all that matters, John.
That's fair. That's fair. We should have been pushing our voice lines more. We could all chat and say, check out our voice lines. Check the John XFR and MP voice line and all chat. Instantly kicked from the lobby every time.
In fairness, you did push it as much as you possibly could, John. I didn't really do much. I'll give you credit, John. You did get me a few extra sales, so I'll say thank you. I never even paid you back for that. How rude of you.
I enjoy it. You know, I just like memeing. For me, it's more of the memes that this dumb caster would think anyone would care about his voice line. What we do care about is this mid lane, of course. You've got Armel up against Mikado. I worked so hard to look for these weird segues. And this one is, again, very fine for Armel. He can play poke back. Every time you have the tree grab, it's pretty happy for Mikado in clearing, but pressuring Armel, it's not going to be too easy here, of course, as it tends to be up against the puck. So you're looking at a very even lane. Maybe some rotations could be nice, especially if you have room coming in from Jokam down the line. Speaking of Jokam, of course, he's working along with WS on the off lane. Terrorblade up against a bot and Ponyo. Mind you, Ponyo is still stuck at level 1. You have a little bit of time on that meta, but not much to get the hits off on WS. And again, for this lane, for a bot, that plasma field is going to do a ton of work on WS. This is not a comfy lane for the Terrorblade. He's going to need a little bit more HP. Just because, well, it's a very cheap spell with a lot of damage, and you don't have a lot of HP to kind of trade on WS. It's a decent enough reflection lane. Like, some damage onto a bot is always going to be nice, but as long as a bot has mana, there's always a threat back. So you should kind of temper yourself here, and it should lead to a very good time for the Razor. Of course, you've got some good static links that can come out later on as well. Still the last lane down bot. Natsumi once again in the DK, playing with Kuku on the Batrider up against Cox on that Dawnbreaker with Joel on that Muerta. And this lane is, again, pretty good, straightforward lane for both sides. There's some good long-range poke here with Joel. If you can land the dead shots, you've got a good amount of magical damage to try to poke onto Natsumi early on. Of course, Natsumi does have the counterplay in Starbreaker cancel with just the Dragon Tail. You do have to kind of be careful about that in Cox. But beyond that, this is probably our most static lane. You're going to be farming up. You're going to be building up. And so long as Natsumi doesn't push the envelope too hard, you should be happy enough to just trade farm here. Of course, that does mean Cox will not be slowing down to his own timings with, say, the Blade Mail down line there.
You're not going to have a pause.
No more games. No more games.
Straight away we'll get to go, though. No problems here. Makoto having a pretty good time in the mid lane, by the way. Pretty even, I suppose, between the two, but Makoto pulling a little bit ahead on that Tiny. Does have the CS advantage, of course, when it comes to the Tiny versus Puck matchup. I mean, you can harass nicely on Armel's end of things, but it doesn't really matter that much. You know, you can never forget either the craggy exterior innate for Tiny does make it so these right clicks don't do as much as they used to against this hero. So Makoto having a good old time. Side lane still going pretty smoothly. And nothing really to write home about. Like WS, you would have assumed would have had a much worse time so far, but he's actually having a great time. In fact, they're going to move in with the Metamorphosis onto Ponyo. Jokam hits the Blood Grenade onto Ponyo, and this should be a kill if they can keep up the vision, but no. He had a Heating Lotus available. It's the only reason the Ogre remains alive throughout all of this. But really, like, considering you are up against Razor Ogre, the lane's going actually better for WS than it is for a bot. Is Jokam again going to have a look around? Kuku's going to intervene now as well through the Twin Gate. And Ponyo has been caught for a first blood attempt, and it will be going the way of WS.
Big movement across the map. And that is something you can get done when you have this DK safe. Once you're level 2, level 3 on Natsumi, you don't need much babysitting. Again, it's a very low action lane down bot. You can't afford to just leave that DK alone, get some movement across from Kuku. His impact is already felt. And that's a great start to Talon. In comparison to that high aggression we saw last game from the side of Kukuys. This time it's Talon that's able to get a little bit more across the gate. Still Natsumi hasn't gotten his support back in, so you've got the opening from Kukuys to just poke under the tower. He is still relatively healthy at the least. And again, for Cox, it's hard to line these Starbreakers up.
Ponyo Down again. Kuku dropping low to Abat. Abat's still going for more, but Kuku does manage to ferry fire up just in the nick of time to buy them a bit more space to continue going after Abat. They'll get a dead shot here, but it won't make the difference. Jokam able to secure the kill here for himself on the Shadow Shaman. And Abat, he just dived so deep to try and secure that kill onto Kuku. But it costs him so heavily. And this is again a Razor lane that is losing to WS's TB.
Just not what you'd expect. And I have to give props to Jokam for finding these angles to maximize that metamorphosis whenever it's up with the shackles. That's been one thing that's kind of giving them that spacing to actually get that work done. And because you're emphasizing the top lane a lot, you're giving this free mid to Mikado, who again isn't really being pressured by Armel. Hits a little pretty fast level 6, so he's got a lot of armor to play with from the right click pokes, riding through that weaker point of the Tiny already. And the only thing you'd want left is really just rune control. Still emphasizing a bot up top here.
Oh, not again. A bot. He just can't catch a break. To go for the link, they do have some supports, but a bot is just taking too much damage. Second death for a bot, but more importantly, he's going to make the walk of shame back to the lane now.
It's a rough time. Again, you look at this comparison in what Talon's doing. Top lane's where all the action's at. Your safe lane for Natsumi is just pretty much uncontested. Yes, you're farming up in Cox, but so is Natsumi. He's not really held back too much. He is barely above a bot in farm, but this is a DK. Like, he will have that cleave. He will have some camps you can dig into. He will have some pressure once that level 6 is up. They're starting to swing around on the side of Kukuys to try to aid in mid. Power Runa was already taken earlier on, but Mikado
jumps in. Jewel, safe for now. Armel moving in with the Dream Coil to try and help out. There's your Cluster Cluck coming out here as Ponyo still in danger. Should go down, and oh, here comes WS. Immediate jaunt away from Armel, not liking what he's seeing. The TB right now is looking way too potent every time Metamorphosis is up. And so all of that action, only one Ogre kill to go the way of Talon, but it is still nonetheless in the favor of Talon.
And this pressure is starting to mount to good things. Like, it's slowing down Armel. And back and forth
Cheeky
tips.
smiley face.
Yeah, I think it's been a rough for Cox, right? Like, sometimes he's coming up, he's trying to go for Starbreaker. Natsumi just holds on to the Dragon Tail until he sees that. There's really no play for the Dawnbreaker. And there's no mana as well to try to play with Solar Guardian. You do have that 6 up on Cox. He does have the Solar Ring at least. Again, he is farming relatively well here. So you have some combinations to play with.
You do. Armel. He's okay. Makoto's starting to become a bit of an issue on this mid-tiny. Rotations down bottom from Jules and Ponyo. Looks like they are going to have a look to see if they can deal with Natsumi. That's a tanky DK though. Abat's going to move in. Natsumi has TPs incoming, but he's taking a fair bit of damage already. Dead shot away. Natsumi's still alive, actually turning back around now. They'll take him down finally. There's a Bat, he can move into another. They're going to find the Shadow Shaman. And even Makoto, who's still around this area, is going to get caught as Cox giving it in the all chat. Nice call, DK. Ouch.
That was pretty lousy from Talon. They didn't quite bring everyone down, and a bot is calling it to Kuku for that little late of a rotation. They still might be able to try, but
oh, the trash talk's kicking in, Jonathan. A bit prophetic there from a bot. You see, he says nice call, bat, and long behold, the bat does show.
Yeah, and they're feeding away. Kukuys do manage to catch up. 1k lead their way, not a massive amount by any means, but you're setting things right for a bot who did have a slower start. Natsumi now bottom network core. Mikado still struggling into the phase boots, and we've seen what happens when tiny blink timing is off. The hero just feels awful if you don't manage to play around that insane power spike you get with a burst potential you have. The only blessing you have here on Talon is that WS has a pretty free time top, so the timing into the pipe is going to be nice and quick here for your offlane Terrorblade. But everything else is being sacrificed to an extent. And Talon are going to have to, again, brace themselves for the long haul where they have to get this farm up on Natsumi. And kind of hit at least that blink on Mikado, because finding the angles are a little bit tough. And the levels aren't quite there. Like, Kuku's still level 4. Jokam at least is about to hit 6. They'll try to play with a smoke here. No lasso threat with a toss back though. They could have enough damage with a hold. Just need to find an angle into a bot, but the scan already spots them anyway. That's going to give the signal for a bot to play a lot safer in his more defensive camps. And Talon just miss out on more opportunities. Maybe find a tier 1 for the trouble. Certainly not find the kills they'd want to, again, get a grip in this game. And the side of Kukuys definitely starting to show their muscle here. Talon just falling short of the mark. Even their mid just getting slowly poked by Armel. And there's just nothing you can do until you get those blink timings up. Which again are pretty stalled out, considering Mikado and his rotation down bot falling flat, and with Natsumi just, even with a free lane, not really finding a farm advantage for himself here. You're in a good foundation for Kukuys. Yes, you still have to kind of compensate for a bot being bullied out of that lane up top, but it does feel like the tempo of the Razors certainly a lot earlier to come online in comparison to the DK. Like just this build up into the Manta, and just the chase down potential you get off of that, maybe a BKB on top, you start to feel good about just dominating, say, around this 15-minute to 20-minute mark here for the side of the Kukuys, if Talon is not too careful.
Absolutely. For now, Talon's just going to sit back. Cox is caught up really nicely on the Stormbreaker, now second in net worth, only behind his own mid being Armel. Props to Cox. I mean, he was having a pretty rough time, but now not looking so bad at all. Of course, WS takes over the net worth board as the TB. He's been having a brilliant game, no deaths for him. I believe he's on to what? He's on to 1 kill, but 3 assists on the Terrorblade for now. Uncontested, gonna have the pipe up pretty soon as well. It's still relatively even game for these two teams, as we are going to see a 2-man smoke. Now, Ponyo and Armel will stand behind the bot. So they make the smoke somewhat obvious. Meanwhile, bottom lane, Cox has been caught. And, well, Kuku will let him... I'm not sure what he said, but he said something.
Yeah, he said, caught. Huli. Caught. You caught him. You caught the trash talker.
This is literally... Are these guys streaming right now or something? Like, there's so much all chat going on. You just assume they're actually trying to farm subs in this game.
Yeah. It's almost like a Pustaha Knights match. Still, let's see if this Gambit from side of Kukuys can pan out. And they manage to snag themselves the haste. Unfortunately, the Avalanche does connect, and Armel's not able to gap close. 6-5. They do have to commit the wards for that kill, which you'd just say at this point is worth. You're not looking to really shove in yet. You just want to recover in this game on the side of Talon, and that does give Mikado some much-needed farm injection. He's had some space to clear out these stacks now as well. Just clear out the jungle. Has that Blink Dagger on the way. So this is where we need to see Talon play to that tempo. Right, you might not be able to have that Blink on Kuku, but he will at least eventually have Lasso. He did opt for a 2-1-3 build, but no point in Lasso yet, so we need to wait for level 7. But once you do have Blink Toss back with Lasso available, you've got the chain control to potentially just burst any hero you see. Smoke out now for Mikado, Jokam, and Kuku. They don't have the forward wards to really spot anything out. We'll have to see if they can connect. At the very least, there's no scan to figure them out here. But it can be a little bit tough. Look at the positioning out from Kukuys. Joel already just hanging to break a smoke. They've got the ward watching if that smoke breaks in the river. Mikado kind of makes that smoke pretty clear as well with a toss back. And it doesn't look like Talon actually can get that angle they'd want off the fresh Blink. Maybe onto Armel. And he did pop haste. He is a harder target to pin down here.
They won't find much yet. Cox will let them know that they've completely missed out on practically everything they could have asked for in that bot lane. Nothing to come out of it. Now, a Bart top of the net worth board on the Razors, so even after that horrendous laning stage he was having, he's certainly caught up very nicely as he spotted out Kuku. Kuku going to be able to Firefly and just walk out of there, no problem. But you're in a very prime position here as Kukuys. Like, obviously just not looking to make any plays anytime soon, but your farm is caught up very nicely. any fight that does break out should have Cox coming in with the Solar Guardian anyway, so you should feel very safe just playing a slower pace of game for the next, say, 5 to 10 minutes. I suppose Talon really don't mind that either, considering their own draft, considering the fact that they have this Dragon Knight that needs a lot more himself. And speaking of the devil, Natsumi does find the tier 1 mid tower. And in fact, Talon, they do seem like they're on the hunt. They have a full pipe up on WS. They can make some good work happen with it. But they're not really finding themselves any targets.
Again, you have some great defensive wards from Kukuys now to watch all of these movements across the map. Like, WS is right underneath vision, and that could lead into opportunities for Kukuys themselves. You do have enough damage to really put onto WS. I mean, he's only 1.3k HP even with a pipe. He's going to have to watch him. Still playing forward here, WS. Doesn't get really a read on this.
Spoilers out. It's a bit dangerous. Solar Guardian to fly in just in case. And WS looks like he might be experiencing his first death of the game. As they do pick him off, WS a little bit overly confident in that position. And that'll be about it for now, but it's a great pickup for the Dire. Makoto, though, he's found an even better pickoff in the Razor if they can finish Abat off, but can they actually do it? They don't have Lasso. Abat's pretty tanky and pretty healthy and won't die, though. The Serpent Wards will get it done of all things. In goes Makoto again. A nice avalanche toss onto 2. They'll find the Ogre at the least. Jules going to try for a TP out. Do they have a stun? No, they do not. Natsumi was actually silenced by his own Mask of Madness, so could not throw it out. 2 for 2. I believe favorable, though, for the side of Talon.
It's a little bit better killing off that high net worth Razor. Having some activity out on Natsumi. Again, a very even game so far. 8-7, a 1k lead for Talon. Not massive by any means, and the side of Kukuys are still hitting their strides. Like this, Ag's timing for Cox is set to come out. He has, again, been given free reign down bot, as we have seen him every single time this Dawnbreaker has come out for himself. You've also got Armel inching closer onto the blink timing of that puck. And it's already a little bit of an issue now to pin down Armel. That blink will just double down on the difficulties that Talon have been facing. I just like the way they're itemizing here as well on Abat. Like, just going into the BKB, he's going to go for the Lincolns after, just to ensure he's not going to be pulled back anytime soon or focused in before he can pop that BKB on. So they have a great read on the side of Kukuys as to how Talon are actually wanting to play and how they can counteract that. Talon, for their part, again, still finding some good build-up on Natsumi. He's managed to overtake now on that BK in that wort. He's got the Sanj up, going for the SNY into his own BKB. And the timings are starting to come online for that point where the DK is just a pretty troublesome frontliner. Mikado, for his part, also just finishes up the Echo Saber at this point. You can start to look into maybe the Phylactery afterwards, maybe the Conda build-up. There is room for something like a BKB if need be. They are trying to get patch here.
Well, Makoto, he's caught out Armel though on the puck, and this is a bit of an awkward scenario for him. Lasso as well catching him out, but do they have the damage? They do. Armel is down. That's a big pick for Natsumi. Ponyo also going to drop. Double kill now for Natsumi, and suddenly you start to get a little bit concerned about Kukuys. Like, Armel dying, that was a big deal. A lot of gold going. In fact, both kills went to Natsumi, who was struggling. And suddenly the Dragon Knight, guess what, John? Top of the net worth board.
Again, he was in that position for a while, but now there's a very clear lead. Not the biggest, but almost 1,000 gold. It's a pretty good point for Natsumi to be in one component ahead of the other heroes on the side of Kukuys. Kukuys, for their part, probably not the ideal timing for them to even force that fight, right? Like, Ags isn't done on Cox. You don't have that massive Solar Guardian factor to deal with just yet. They're still on the chase here from Talon, though, but a good sentry is going to make it a little bit awkward for Joe to try to catch. But you can see the Talon starting to kick that pace up. They've got the damage with Makoto. They've got the control with Jocam while the BKBs aren't up, while the Lincolns aren't up as well. And they just need to keep working these angles out. Mind you, they are going into this area without Kuku. Not that Kuku has Lasso anyhow. I mean, just looking for a little bit of a quicker kill. Aren't able to really find that. And for the side of Kukuys, just a little bit of patience. You know, Cox is only 400 gold away from that full Ags. Just getting to that point. 1,000 gold away for a bot to have his BKB. And those two alone will simplify the game for you by a huge extent. The Lincolns are just going to take a little bit longer. Likely not able to get into that. Talon, however, just straight into Roche after not finding anything up top. Just go for this nice, simple objective. And with the damage Natsumi has, this does not take too long. They even commit the ward from Jokam just to ensure it goes speedily here. So, secondary lives are available. They'll actually hand it to Mikato. You do have that full Ags that we were talking about on Cox, so the added heal and the mischance on the Solar Guardian and the moving Solar Guardian should ensure that the same play onto Armel does not happen again. They just barely dragged him on the edge and keep themselves outside of the AoE of that Solar Guardian. Not quite the possibility any longer. So the chain stun with Shackles shouldn't be an issue. We'll just have to see if they can try to find some connections here on Talon. As Kukuys, again, once you start to hit some BKBs, things get complicated. Right now, you're reliant on Mikato to burst like this.
Yeah, Avalanche toss is there. Jewel doesn't quite die, gets the pierce, the veil off. Now Mikoto actually in a bit of trouble himself. Still has the Aegis though to play with. Jewel at least does make his way out of there. Kind of just putting the fear of God into him. Tier 2 mid tower going to be targeted by Talon. It really doesn't take very long. With this Dragon Knight just hitting like an absolute truck at the moment. It's about 300 damage per right click here with Natsumi. Of course WS with the Demon Zeal as well. Going to make short work of it. 4k advantage now. Natsumi almost posturing like he's going to go for that high ground attempt, but definitely not, as they are actually smoked up hunting down a Bart. But a Bart does leave at the right moment, does escape with his life intact. EKB up as well now for a Bart, so I think it might be time to just take this Tormentor and smoke. Thing is, you would be smoking into an Aegis, which is maybe not very advised, but with the BKB timing of a Bart, you also don't necessarily want to sit back.
No. You do want to get max use out of that. Again, Razor is a very high tempo hero. Kind of want to play as aggressive as possible. You do want to find those angles out. The side of Talon don't really have their own BKBs ready anyhow. You are lacking just a recipe here on Natsumi, but he's the closest one. Mikado's a little bit ways off from it. Of course, on the offlane TV, WS is not going to gun for it yet. Trying to get his Sanjin Yasha up for a little bit more presence on that hero. They are smoked up on Kukuys, but no one down south, so no one to really spot out here, as Talon have already crossed back onto the other side of the map. And they still have a little bit of time in the Aegis. Not as much, 2.5 minutes still to try to make a play here on Mikato. But chances are for Talon, they're also just going to wait for their own BKBs before really forcing anything too deep. Just a little bit of a farming Aegis for the most part here outside of that tier 2 take. Again, not that you mind, because Mikado's BKB timing ties in with Natsumi's BKB timing, which ties in with the Sanjin Yasha of WS. And you are slowly reaching the points where it's a little bit harder to manage that side of Talon once, again, their own BKBs are up. We'll have to see. Kukuy is still walking with another smoke here. And this time the angles are a little bit closer.
Well, they do catch one. Kuku. The Batrider has gone down. Eventually, surely. Kuku, no way in hell.
What?
Oh my god.
What?
What do you mean? He laughs at him as well.
Oh, what the heck?
There's no way. How did that happen?
Just not enough. He's got the solar
barriers
crest.
coming in.
Yeah, just enough of a barrier for him to survive through. And well, that's the smoke broken. That's a couple of the tools revealed if they manage to go through the inventories here. Maybe seen that a bot BKB. Talon get the smoke up now off the back of that. And they have that fresh BKB on Natsumi as well. It's all a matter of getting this angle out with Mikato taking point. Maybe not the biggest in the sports though here.
Well, they're going to find Ponyo first. Mikoto should make short work of him. Though Ponyo's still running as Natsumi actually backed off there for a second. Eventually though, they should have him. The flame break does not help and he actually makes it. Oh my god. Ponyo gives it back now.
Oh my god, this is so dumb. These streamers, man.
What's wrong with these
streamers? Oh, this is too much content think, and it's not even Armel. Armel's the content king. This is just Kuku and Ponyo getting in on the content train now. SNY fully done for WS at release. A little bit harder to pin down our Terrorblade at this point. Aegis is set to expire now, so that opening for Mikado is gone, but the BKB, not too far off. Just a recipe away. Just about 50 gold, and he's going to have that up. The scan does reveal that position up top here from the side of Kukuys, but it's not like they can really get on top of that. In fact, I'm a little bit curious as to why Kuku was queuing up a pipe when they already have a pipe on WS. He could go for a blink. I guess that's content. Double pipe wins game. Most broken strategy in Dota 2. You know, I can see
the thumbnails already. It's perfect. You're a genius, Jonathan.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, we'll see if Kuku actually finishes this.
He's the real genius. He's the content king now. He's the godfather. Now, how could I forget? The godfather of all things Dota. From content to gameplay. That's what Kuku is.
Absolutely.
10-7. 7k lead for Talon. And Aegis has expired, but you have managed to get to the point where Natsumi is just massive. Is going for the MKB first, so anticipating something like some evasion come in, just wanting to have a Pierce to go through the Solar Guardian evasion for sure. He's going to have some options there. A bot showing himself a little bit early, but no real jump options. Again, you don't have a blink. I mean, you have a blink on Jokan, but no blink on Kuku to follow through, so it is a little bit risky.
Well, he's getting a 4-staff, Johnny. He's not going pipe, thankfully, on the Batrider, so... You know, still the 4-staff is coming out here for Kuku. Should be good enough. Makoto to jump in. Top tier 2 tower not going to be defended. Instead, Armel just trading for the tier 1 mid, which has been left there for quite a while. Doesn't seem like Kukuys really feel like they're in a good position to try and get any fights going. Which I kind of agree with anyway. I don't think they're in a very good position to force a fight.
No.
Unless they can find like a pick off first, you know, make it an uneven kind of 5v5, but it's just not happening right now.
No.
Talon not giving those openings over.
The one thing I do like seeing here from Kukuys is that you are getting this progression on a bot for the refresh. And that's when the Razor gets crazy. It doesn't feel like you really need to refresh the BKB at this point because it's still 9 seconds, but just double static link, double Eye of the Storm is pretty devastating. And that's something Talon has to be a little bit weary about as the game scales on. And the Razor does have this mid-late game spike with a refresh orb up. And a bot is making steady progress to it. He's not been contested too hard in this game in the past really 10 minutes. It feels like this game is kind of stagnated here. So you will have those timings lined up. Again, you've got the Lincolns that Armel's been queuing up for some time now. Hell, you'll even have the full Assault Cuirass coming in from Cox. A lot more output from the Dawnbreaker with all of that minus armor on her swipes now, once that is available. And for Talon, again, you're maintaining the 7k lead. It's not the biggest lead in the world. It's mainly down to really just Natsumi for the most part, and probably a little bit more on how Cox is slightly behind the pack here. So it's still a rather even game, even with that 7k lead up. And does provide opportunities for the side of Kukuys, again, to hit the spike with that double BKB, double static link, double Eye of the Storm for a bot. And you've got that full defensive Lincolns up for Armel. A little bit more protected from the Dragon Tail, from the Shackles, from the Hex. Provides a window for the puck to dodge out. Roshan still a minute 50 until we see when it is back up. So some time and some openings here for Kukuys to try to shove out and maybe set up some forward vision. It is going to be a nighttime spawn, but not for too long. It will kind of swing down bot almost instantaneously. Inside of Talon, again, they're kind of chilling out. They've almost got the Orchid up on WS. You are getting a 4-staff on Jokem, and he's keeping track of Roshan. They will lose their tier 2 bot, just kind of surrendering that to Kukuys, so they'll take a freebie where they can find it.
Mid, or rather top. Not going to make the complete jump in onto Jewel. Roshan's still about a minute away from respawning, but Talon, they have got prime position to secure that next Roshan. Already just guarding the area around the pit. Refresh orb almost up now for Aban. Just about, there you go, he's bought it out right now, so no buyback gold available for the Razor, but you've got the refresher orb up, so the Razor can be a huge pain in the ass now. MKB built up on Natsumi though to ensure that Aghanim Scepter evasion from Cox with the Solar Guardian not going to be quite as impactful as it once was. And they have smoked up off the back of this. They want to get a fight going. They might actually run right into Cox. He's not too careful, and they do catch him. The Orchid is out. Cox has no play here. He's just going to die. And he's actually down for 70 seconds. He just put out an AC, I believe.
He did. Didn't go for anything defensive as well. Maybe feeling like he's not showing up to these fights anyhow, but that does provide that pick-off opportunity. And I love this read on Talon, instantly pinging onto the mid. There is a rear smoke here from the side of Kukuys, if Talon did decide to run down. And Kukuys themselves have this very odd opportunity to go for Roshan, but they are going to have to cede high ground. We've got the damage going with Natsumi and those Serpent Wards coming in. Doesn't take too long for the damage to really escalate. Kukuys still walking the long way back with that smoke. Again, this refresh reveal on a bot could be massive. They are in a very weird spot for Talon. This could be a good flank round from the side of Kukuys, but they're not fully committing to it yet. They will just surrender with racks, maybe look for some stragglers from this awkward off flank here.
Kukuys still not out of it yet. One rack's down. They're going to find Ponyo now. WS happily running in, but he's found out there's a lot of heroes around this area, so WS just trying to get out. He's actually surviving thanks to the cluster clock. As they continue to try and go for this fight, they're going to find Ponyo in the end. Abart's still trying to find Kuku. Does eventually get the Bat Rider. Armel's looking for more. He'll move in onto the Shaman. Glimmercape not really helping, but he will cluster clock again. Not much they can do about that as the chase continues once again, but Makoto puts a halt to it as Abart still moving in, does find WS now. WS not popping the BKB. In fact, he didn't even have one. He'll go down. Onto the Shaman they'll go. The Glimmercape, they're buying the space that Joe Cam needs to get out, and he'll blink as Armel! Armel gets caught! Jewel also down. Abart trying to get away, does manage the TP. But as soon as Armel got caught, that fight was as good as over. They could not keep it up. And sadly, Roshan is going to be available and Talon will rush for the pit.
They've got the advantage. That was a little bit of an awkward time for WS. Again, that fight was also, for a long time, didn't even have Natsumi really showing up there with the damage. But the fact that Talon were still playing decently enough into a little bit of an awkward timing does not bode well for the side of Kukuys. That is your big refresh reveal on a bot. Not amounting to as much. Not really able to get the best second use out of that static link. The Roshan, again, as you mentioned here, might freebie for Talon. Aegis hands it to Mikado. They've got the Roche banner as well to aid in that siege onto the next set of racks. Still one outer tower left for the side of Kukuys. We'll have to still manage that on the side of Talon first. But Talon getting into control in this game. 14-9, 11k lead Talon's way. Natsumi, a good 4k ahead of a bot. And is just going into that full Daedalus now to really burst down these heroes. Only lacking that Demon Edge. Kukuys, they're starting to have some issues. Right? It doesn't feel like the Solar Guardian's actually doing as much in this game with how scattered Talon's making these fights happen. You have to always be weary from Cox to be caught out as well. Like, if he's actually caught, then the point of this here is just gone. It really is all about that Solar Guardian, all about that second life, almost like a free reset. It almost functions like an offensive song on the side of Kukuys. And in that, you have this position that you can't just force out fully. We didn't really see it in that bot fight from Cox. And for Talon, I think this game is just simplifying. You have BKB Pierce with Kuku, with a lasso. Again, he doesn't have Blink, but he's still been finding some pretty big lasso backs anyhow. Still, it's been shaping up here for our Batrider 5. You've got the full Conda up for Mikado, so there's a ton of damage for him to pump out now. Even on the right click, and he does have his shard up for that permanent tree grab now. So things are shaping up here for Talon. Maybe the one thing you'd want to see, if you are looking at Talon to kind of close out, is something like a BKB and WS, and the silences have been ruining him. And he is still opting for a Dragon Lance instead. Still, high ground does begin. Wards drop with a Roche banner, and this does not take too long. Can't go for the Megas, but we'll at least have two as well.
Abart's been caught. Makoto with the perfect initiation. Abart can't afford to die like this. He'll BKB and run, but the chase is on. Natsumi really wanted that kill. They will miss out for now. Abart barely surviving. But he's been left without a BKB. He's going to TV back into the team fight. This could be the last one. If Kukuys can't make this one work, he'll refresh the BKB now. On to the DK there, go Natsumi, standing his ground, but about doing a lot of work with this double eye of the storm. Will take down the Dragon Knight. Makoto in trouble. He's still got the Aegis up, but he will lose it. So they've got on the top racks, but it's going to cost them a big team fight. Makoto, I don't think, can make some magic happen here. He's out of gas. He'll end up going down. Triple kill for a Bart. They'll even find Joe Cam. The only person to make it out of there apparently was WS. But you did get the second barracks, so it's you tell me if it's worth the trade, John.
I think it still is, but it just complicates this game. You couldn't go for Megas because Tier 2 still stands. Roche is still a ways off until it's back up. It's a big window of opportunity here for the side of Kukuys to actually regain some map control and even think about the Tier 3. The bot is exposed. There's a mid-tier 2 that you can take and an easy Tier 1 top, which maybe not the highest priority for them at this moment. And you are seeing some of the issues in kiting. Like, again, a bot chooses a good moment to just refresh and head back in, resets in that fight, and manages to get that isolation onto Natsumi, who is going back now for a Hurricane Pike just to break that static link. Was just a bit of a sitting duck in the middle of all of that, as he didn't really have a way to be dragged out by his team. Respawns are fairly short, so even if a Tier 2 falls, the high ground doesn't really become a reality yet for the side of Kukuys. But they did take that fight into Aegis. And I get why you give Mikado the Aegis, because, well, you have a 2 transformation heroes that don't really enjoy their second lives anyhow. But it is causing issues with how aggressive Natsumi wants to be playing here. And feels like Mikado's the one kind of sitting a little bit slightly behind after the Ava tosses out. A long smoke about here from the side of the Kukuys. Maybe trying to find a flank in. WS would be a very good target if they walked into this high ground here.
They're going to try. WS going to be spotted, breaks the smoke, but still in big trouble. Is going to try and just fight back, but cannot. Still has no BKB available on the TB, so it's very hard for him to try and turn. They'll take the T1 top tower here with the Bart. But I don't even think they'll be able to stick around for a Tier 2, but I suppose maybe they could.
Yeah.
Okay, it's probably not worth the risk, even with the TB down, let's be honest.
Not quite. They will just play it safe. They don't have that much more to play off on the map, though. Right, like, it's only the Tier 2 left. There's no Roshan, so maybe just some forward ward control could be it. This choice of not having the BKB and WS certainly is costing him. I mean, he's going back for it now for sure, but whether or not he has enough time before anything major happens is another question. And it's such a strange thing with this game. We're only at 28 kills at 37 minutes, but it has felt pretty impactful. Like, all of these kills have mattered a lot in this game. All of these pickoffs have brought the game to where it is right now. And I think for the side of Kukuys, again, these recent kills have evened out the game by a huge degree. Only a 2k lead left for Talon. This timing on Razor when you've got Satanic with a refresh is just ridiculous with how much this hero can just present itself up front. Even a Lincoln's being farmed up now by a bot. And that presents so many issues here for Talon. Again, it just feels like Fuku without the blink is starting to maybe have some issues finding the lassos they'd want here. You put a lot of reliance onto Mikado to actually just blink Avatos along with a follow-through from Chokam, which is easier said than done for any of these guys to just maintain that without the potential to drag back into a safer position for Talon to play in. And again, the lead is just slipping away. No lead to really speak of. 1k now. All the core is pretty evenly farmed. Natsumi and the bot evenly farmed. Mikado and Armel pretty even. WS and Cox pretty even. There's no real advantage to speak of. And again, it just makes this late game a very 50-50 affair. Like, you hit this Ags timing on Armel. That Dream Coil is just going to hurt so bad. Fortunately, he doesn't have the level 25. If he had the debuff Pierce, then you are for a world of hurt. But as it is now, at the very least, you can still run away fine here on Talon. They're not forcing down the bot lane either. They're wanting to maybe look for an endgame fight and force it onto the Tier 4s, leaving that bot Satarax alone. But I'm a little bit surprised they don't just play it safer push in bot, correct that lane, get the tier 2, maybe wait for the next Roche, and then just kind of go for mega creeps first. So that's also just kind of giving room out to the side of Kukuys. The fact that this tier 2 stands, the fact that mega creeps aren't a full threat, is giving them a lot of breathing room in this game that I don't think Talon should be giving out. Honestly, it's a little bit surprising that's just there. And I like the confidence from Kukuys. Look at this. They've got this very deep high ground ward down bot after getting those pushes out earlier. They might still be able to get to use them. Because again, Talon haven't really corrected bot. There's still time for Roche. They've got the Satanic up on Natsumi at least. So he did opt for that instead of a Force Staff. So there is still the issue of the chase down from a bot being very relevant here. At least you have a Force Staff on WS and Kuku, but again, that wasn't there to save him last time around. We'll have to see if this is a quick Roche as well. Could be to the benefit of Talon, but no, it's a longer one at 2 minutes 40. Nonetheless, smoke out from Talon with these fresh items up. Again, to be fair, if they take one good fight and just go into the tier 4s, there's not a lot of buybacks in the map right now. A bot needs 1,000 gold for his. Armel needs 700. Cox need 1,000 as well. Like, one fight could end this.
They're sneaking in. Nobody shows yet. Oh, Armel, that's the target you'd really want to burst down. Solar Guardian, is it enough? Armel somehow still alive. Finally will go just before the fight really breaks out. He's got no buyback either. Here comes a Bart though, at least trying for Kuku. He won't find that. The wards will kind of block him in there for a second as WS actually running forward, trying to find a Sunder target. Won't find one yet. Meanwhile, a Bart losing too much HP.
No,
he's gone. That might be it. Talon may have done it. I think this is game over, John. There's no buybacks left. Talon should be your SCA representatives here for ESL One Raleigh. And the GG is called. Congratulations are out. Talon, I mean, I'll be frank, John. They made it look easy, this whole qualifier. Kukuys, they gave them a fight in game 3. But overall, Talon, they certainly were the best team here in the close qualifiers for SCA.